I'd like to call to order the regular Township Board meeting for Chesterfield Township to order for Tuesday, May 28th at 7 p.m. To order, could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Berry, would you call the roll?
Supervisor Kersten.
Here.
Treasurer Elliott. Here. Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph.
Here.
Trustee DeVlaminck.
Here.
Trustee Vosberg. Here. Clerk Berry is here.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Clerk Berry?
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee DeVlaminck. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott. Aye.
Item 5.5A. Clerk Berry.
Item 5A is to administer the oath of office to new police officers Timothy DeSnyder, Nathan DeVlaminck, Andrew Andary, and Samantha Paszek.
Director Bassett, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to ask our 4 new officers to please come to the front so everybody can meet you. While they're making their way to the front, honorable board, family and friends, and members of the community, today is a significant occasion as we swear in 4 new officers to our police department: Officer DeSnyder, Officer DeVlaminck, Officer Paszek, and Officer Andary. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome these dedicated individuals into our law enforcement family. To our new officers, today marks the beginning of a noble and challenging journey. You have chosen to serve and protect our community, a commitment that demands courage, integrity, and an unwavering sense of duty. As you take this oath, you join a long line of brave men and women who have dedicated their lives to service of others. Each of you has undergone rigorous training, demonstrating not only your skills, but also your commitment to the principles of justice and public service. As you step into your roles, remember that being a police officer is more than just a job, it is a calling. It requires empathy, patience, and a profound respect for the dignity and rights of every individual. You will be the first line of defense in times of crisis and peacekeepers in moments of unrest, and the helpers in times of need. Our community looks to you for protection and leadership. Every interaction you have, no matter how routine, is an opportunity to strengthen the bond between the police department and the community. To the family and friends of our new officers, thank you for your support. Your encouragement and understanding are vital to their success and well-being. We recognize the sacrifice that you have made. To our new officers, as you don your badges and take your places among your fellow officers, carry with you the values of our department: honor, duty, respect, and compassion. We are confident in your abilities and proud to have you join us. We know you will serve with honor and distinction, making a positive impact on our community every day. And with that, I'd like to ask our clerk to go ahead and do the swearing in. Following the swearing in, I'm going to have everybody do the pinning of the badge ceremony.
Please raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of police officer in and for the Township of Chesterfield, County of Macomb, State of Michigan, to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. Officer.
After they've completed signing the book, I'm going to ask each of them to bring forward someone they've chosen to pin the badge on them. So in no particular order, Tim, who are you going to have pin the badge, my father? Supervisor, if it's okay with you, I was going to have all the families go ahead and step out, and we can take some pictures, and we'll let the meeting continue.
Item 6, department reports. Are there any department reports? Any department reports? Clerk Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First and foremost, absentee ballots for the August primary election have gone out. You should have received them this week, or last week rather, in the mail if you are on the absent voter application mailing list. If you are on the permanent ballot list, you would not have received an application. You will receive your ballot if you are eligible in this election when the ballots are received. We do expect them to be delivered by the 10th of June. By the time we are able to process those ballots, ballots should be in the mail by the end of that week, although we do have a couple of logistical issues that we're working with right now in terms of where we're going to be processing those. But if you have any question about your absentee ballot or your absentee ballot application or the status or your voter status regarding this upcoming August election, please contact the clerk's office and we will be happy to assist you. I'd also like to read for you an article that was recently published at CNN.com. And Michigan has been making news recently across the country regarding our election status this year. And I know that the board has been very generous in their funding, and they're very generous in their accommodations for us to facilitate the election. And I know that it's sometimes difficult for those in the public or those who are unaware of the challenges that we're facing to understand some of the things that we're required to do and that we need to do in the environment in which we're doing it. So I'd just like to use my department report to read some salient excerpts from that article. It is entitled, "Election Officials in Battleground Michigan Grapple with Sweeping Voting Changes in a Presidential Election." And this was published by CNN on Monday, May 20th, 2024, for anyone who is interested in reading the article in its entirety. This year, voting will be far easier for Michigan residents thanks to new laws that establish early voting, automatically send out absentee ballots to voters who request them, and mandate that every community has at least one drop box in which to return those ballots. But the changes have made running elections in this crucial presidential battleground much harder, leading some to worry about burnout among the state's more than 1,500 local clerks who must juggle increasingly complex election responsibilities with other duties, ranging from town record keeping to licensing pets. Quote, "We just put a Ferrari engine inside a Model T car," Michael Segrist, the clerk of Canton Township, said of the sweeping effort to modernize elections in a state that still conducts balloting under a decades-old hyper-local system. The scramble to implement Michigan's new voting rules also comes in a highly charged climate under which a simple mishap could fuel fresh conspiracy theories about election fraud. In the 2020 general election, human error in the Republican stronghold of Antrim County in northern Michigan briefly led to the unofficial results showing Joe Biden ahead when Donald Trump had won the county. Despite assurances from state and local election officials that no foul play was involved, the situation quickly spiraled, with Trump allies attempting to cast doubts about Biden's victory by making meritless claims that tabulators had switched votes from Trump to Biden. The state's highly decentralized system of administering voting means that Michigan has 1,500 elections every big election day, said Kyle Whitney, the city clerk of Marquette in the state's Upper Peninsula. That helps ensure that balloting and vote counting is secure, because it's impossible, he said, to do one thing en masse that could influence the election on a large scale. That said, the drawback is that we have 1,500 local clerks running elections, and we are much more likely to have dumb mistakes because clerks are undertrained or overtired. The changes are also playing out at a time of higher turnover in the field as election officials leave their jobs because they have either reached retirement age or face heavier workloads or can no longer tolerate the threats and abuse directed at them since the 2020 election. A recent national survey of election officials by the liberal-leaning Brennan Center for Justice found that 1 in 5 said they were unlikely to stay in their posts through the 2026 midterm elections. The new rules in Michigan flow from a constitutional amendment that state voters approved by a wide margin in 2022 that dramatically expanded access to voting. For the first time, Michigan now requires 9 days of early in-person voting. The voter-approved amendment also allows Michiganders to sign up to automatically receive absentee ballots for all future elections. Each community must also have at least one secure ballot drop box, and larger communities must have one for every 15,000 people. Additionally, the new rules give absentee voters until 5 p.m. on the Friday after the election to fix any clerical errors on their ballots. Ballots cast by military and overseas voters, meanwhile, must now be counted if received within 6 days after the election, as long as they are postmarked by Election Day. The 2022 voter amendment, known as Prop 2, built on a constitutional amendment approved in 2018 that allowed any Michigander to apply to vote absentee without needing an excuse. The earlier amendment also established that residents could register to vote on Election Day. The broad changes have led to significant workload expansion for the mix of appointed and elected city and town clerks who oversee voting in the Wolverine state. It's almost like running 3 separate elections now, Lori Mill, the clerk from Livonia, said. The term-limited clerk is overseeing her first presidential election and previously served as the town's deputy clerk. Like other Michigan officials, she witnessed the drama that engulfed the 2020 election. She said she felt she owed it to her community where she lived to take on her role, but it is not a job you can learn in 30 days, she said. It goes on to basically talk more about that, but one thing that is particularly pertinent here, there's a clerk in the Upper Peninsula that they name in here as well, who had a long public service career serving as township treasurer, supervisor, along with a decade stint as a county commissioner, and she said, "This is the hardest and most time-consuming of all the positions I have ever held in at least 30-plus years. Because with the demands of the other responsibilities, which include bookkeeping, communications, and grant writing, for example, it's just too long. Even long-term clerks are saying that the learning curve has been very steep." I'm not going to go on to read more, but just to kind of give you a sense, that's just a taste of what we as election administrators are faced with here in Michigan. And in Chesterfield Township, we are doing everything possible to make sure that we provide service to our residents at in a cost-effective and efficient way. And I'd like to thank the board for their ongoing support in our efforts to do that, and I'd like to thank the public as well for their ongoing understanding as we navigate these very challenging waters this year. Thank you.
Trustee DeVlaminck.
Just a few things from the Director of Parks and Recreation. Brandenburg Park Splash Pad is now open for the season, Memorial Day through Labor Day. The splash pad hours are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., weather permitting. Rentals of the indoor and open-air pavilions facilities are available. Entry fee is $5 per vehicle or season-long passes. Both can be purchased at the newly installed entry booth. Other new additions include a renovated pier, boat docks, and upgrades to the interior building. Next, instructors. A call for instructors. If you or someone you know is interested in hosting a class, teaching something new, or educating the public, let us staff know. The Parks and Recreation Department is now planning the next season of programming, and they are looking for unique opportunities to offer a diverse range of programs to the community. If you would, you can call 586-949-0400 extension 4 for more information. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Trustee Joseph.
Just a brief update from the Chesterfield Township Library Board. The meeting last week, May 15th, the agenda included some old business, specifically the strategic plan that the Library Board has commissioned should be completed and available by the end of the summer. There is an announcement of the summer reading program, which is set to kick off on June 14th. The Library Director, Magnus Eubank, indicated that he has challenged his children's reading team, and they're very excited about the summer reading program. The 30th anniversary of the library is coming up, and the Friends of the Library have made a $2,500 donation for the fall events to commemorate the 30th year of the library. The other issue which I thought was interesting and maybe something our board and I'm sure our treasurer is been inundated with these types of things, but the library had a financial system security check. Specifically, they wrote a check for $1,300 for books. There was a book vendor that was issued a check for $1,300. Somehow that check and the cashing of the check had been hacked, that the check showed up at the bank for $13,000, and it was the financial security team at the bank that notified the library to verify the cost, and so no out-of-pocket expense was incurred by the library, but the discussion that ensued, the amount of cyber hacking, and particularly in the banking industry, it's not just individuals who are being targeted, but municipalities. And so I was grateful to hear all of the checks and balances at the library to catch this before it costs taxpayers. That's really who pays the bill on this. So all positive things coming out of the library, and their next meeting is Wednesday, June 12th. Thank you.
Just real quick from the supervisors, as you can see, the renovation plan has begun here. They're working. If you walk across the hall, I'd invite the trustees to go after, just take a walk around, see how far they are. Gutting is obviously easier than building back, but the project has begun. We've condensed everybody into smaller workspaces, and it seems to be working well. So if you have any concerns as a trustee or anything you want addressed, please reach out and let me know, and we'll get it taken care of. Trustee Anderson, I missed you, sorry.
Oh, that's great, thank you. From the Historical Society, Chesterfield, this Saturday, June the 1st, between 10 and 4, and Sunday, June the 2nd, 10 to 3 p.m. at our village next door here, the St. Clair Voyagers and History Alive. Come and see the St. Clair Voyagers 1750 era French fur trade reenactors and History Alive, a timeline of historical reenactors, historians, and period clothing, encampments, and displays will tell a story of Macomb County's history. From the early days of the fur trade through the war on global terror, a donation of $1 per person or $2 per family is suggested. Food and drinks will be available for purchase. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, public comments. Public comments on agenda items only. Again, public comments on agenda items only. There is a 3-minute time limit, and if you would, not required, state your name just so we can keep track. The mic is open. Public comments on agenda items only.
My name is Joe Kadich. I live on Sutton. I had a question as to agenda item I, where you're calling for a speed study on 24 Mile Road, and why it took a proclamation or whatever from the whole board to request that. When you arranged for one when you were still police chief on Sutton, we didn't even know what was it. We were basically trying to get some help from you to get some officers state in there. That didn't happen. But you arranged to have the speed study done, which I think these people ought to be aware of. The state police, when they came out and took it, basically their aim was they would put the speed limit at what 85% of the people when they basically did their tolling and everything. They spent about an hour and a half just judging the traffic, and they based their study and what the speed limit should be on that. We were 25 miles an hour. We were trying to get the people who were going 50 miles an hour to slow down. And study turned out that basically, it said they were basically going 40 miles an hour, but they raised our rate from 25 to 35. So unless somebody's got some pull and some sway on these people, you better hope it doesn't turn out the same way. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mary August. I live on Oaks Drive. I wanted to talk about item D, the zoning, the Planning Commission denying the rezoning of the property. I am for that for a few different reasons. One, the company that was hired to review that proposal came back with some questions that, as of the Planning Commission meeting, weren't answered by the developer. That type of development doesn't, especially since it appears that he's going to build apartments based on the drawing that was submitted, doesn't really fit in with the immediate area. Immediate west of that property is a single-family subdivision with about 9 homes. The south of that is Sycon, which are single-family homes. Directly next to it is a daycare with an undeveloped property behind it, and then next to that are some condos. I understand multifamily could be condos, but again, it appears that he's planning on building apartments there. So you have more of a transient environment going in the middle of properties that people have got 15 and 30-year mortgages on that we're paying on and are more permanent residents. Apartments are gonna bring in lighting in the parking lots. Every one of those 9 homes on Oaks Drive have at least one bedroom in the back that will be facing that parking lot, and you're gonna have that light all night long. According to the drawing, 20 feet off the back of my property line is going to be a road. And that road is going to connect to the back of our sub from what we understand. So we're concerned about more traffic coming through our sub right now because of that. The extra traffic that something like that is going to cause on 23 Mile Road in that small area. You've got the daycare, you've got our sub, you've got the sub across the street, you've got the condos, adding that much traffic. Even if you do the numbers, approximately 6 apartment buildings, 12 units per building is 17 units, 1.5 cars per unit. You've got 100 extra vehicles coming in and out of that property. And then lastly, it's more of a personal reason for me. We just spent $45,000 to fix the foundation on our house last year. And where my house sits in our subdivision, everybody that rounds that corner to go back to that back road to come in and out of whatever's going to be built there is going to be coming in front of my house. According to the engineer we hired and the company we hired to repair it, part of the damage that was sustained to our house was due to street creep. And if I have at least, say, a quarter of those cars come through our sub, 25 more cars a day going in front of my house, I don't even know what more damage could possibly be caused. So for those reasons, I feel that we still should deny that request.
I'm also for Agenda D. My name is Melissa McPherson. I'm here on behalf of myself, my husband, and my parents, Michael and Marilyn Markham, who have been residents of Chesterfield Township since 1998, which is when they moved me and my 3 siblings into English Oaks on Golden Oak Drive, where they still reside. I have very fond memories of growing up in English Oaks, and my memories are so fond that I actually moved back into the sub this February. My husband and I moved his 12-year-old daughter, my 3-year-old son, and a 2-year-old daughter 800 miles from Virginia Beach when he retired from the Navy. When looking for a home, we wanted a sub just like that. The weekend we were coming up to see the few houses in person, a home on White Oak Court was for sale that weekend, and it felt like it was meant to be. We moved in at the beginning of February and have since then taken many walks to my parents, and my hope is to have my kids grow up the way I did. The proposal for rezoning of the land adjacent to our sub is something I know a majority, if not all, of the residents are against. I understand that the land is already zoned for development, and as much as we'd like to prevent that, there's only so much you can do to stop that. Many of my neighbors are concerned with property value and the negative impact the multifamily housing raises, and I agree with these concerns. I've done a lot of research in the last month. Studies have shown that property value is impacted differently based on the type of multifamily housing. This also has an impact on the crime rate. So what is planning to be built? Will it impact our living situations negatively? Building multifamily units will also add to the already terrible traffic situation. My son goes to preschool at Sugar Bush Elementary, and I take Seton up to go home so I don't have to turn left into the sub because I'll be stuck there forever. But my biggest concern would be the plan of connecting this new development to our sub. Making our neighborhood a through traffic road would not be beneficial to our sub in any way. It will also take away the wetlands that are to our east, and it will put the safety of our children at risk. After speaking with the Department of Transportation regarding connecting the roads, a few issues were brought to my attention. According to the gentleman I spoke to, Mr. Jones would need to put a 120-foot cul-de-sac at the end of his street, and there would need to be a 60-foot right-of-way to 23 Mile. The lot is only 178 feet wide, leaving no room for building around that cul-de-sac. And with both of those, there would be little land for him to develop on. The sketch of the plans don't seem to incorporate any of that. It was also brought up how against destroying wetlands, the state of Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy is. Growing up, we had the pleasure of seeing many creatures in the wooded areas. We would catch tadpoles in the creek. At Christmas time, we'd see footprints from the deer that live in the woods. And currently, there's a muskrat named Gus who lives in my backyard. And when it rains, he hangs out. Taking away the wetlands will take away the homes of many animals, and my husband won't let me have Gus as a pet, so he needs his land. I want to provide my children with a childhood that involves playing with the neighbors, walking to Gammy and Papa's house, playing street hockey in our court, in the street, without having to be worried for their safety. Oh, can I just, last line? So please consider this in the recommendation of the Planning Commission when deciding whether or not this proposal is in everyone's best interest.
My name is John Sampico. I've been a resident of English Oaks since it was built in '97. And in 2003, I moved my small business to Chesterfield. That subdivision is, I think, one of the best kept secrets in Macomb County. The turnover of houses there has been very, very light. Most of the residents there have been there since the onset. I expect if that road goes through, that's going to be a thoroughfare. And unaccustomed to what we have as a nice private subdivision, I think we're already going to see people moving in anticipation of these changes. So I think the fundamental question I have, what's the advantage to Chesterfield? I sent a letter, as did some other people, and of course never got a response to it, but I question the value to the community, the township, of going forward with this project. Thank you.
Oh, I'm cutting in front. I promise you're next. I'm extremely nervous. My name is Jennifer Swantonowski. I also live in English Oaks. We've lived there since 1998. My mom, Nancy. A couple of things that, if the property is rezoned for multifamily to apartments, first, there are already existing apartment complexes that have open units in Chesterfield. Just a few examples are the Aspens, Oakview Square, Bayview Apartments, Harbor Manor, and Tides of 23. Is there really a need for more? Second, apartments bring an increase to criminal activity. There have been over 50 times this year that the Chesterfield police have been called out to these apartment complexes for crimes including larceny, domestic assault, public peace, harassment, threats, and child abuse. This does not include civil matters, parking violations, or suspicious events. The Chesterfield police have provided a report from January to May 6th that contains 11 pages of activity coming out of those complexes alone. I have that here if anybody would like to see it. Also, it should be mentioned that there are over 10 sexual offenders living in those apartment complexes. Connecting our subdivision to access the proposed apartments or simply having them built adjacent to Oaks Drive would increase crime rates in our subdivision as well. My next concern is the wetlands. Wetland soils are also known as hydric soils. They are saturated, flooded, and ponded long enough during the growing season to develop anaerotic conditions in the upper part that favor the growth and regeneration of hydrophytic vegetation, which would be protected under the USDA Soil Conservation Service of 1985. If building occurs on the wetlands, where does the excess water drain? The hydric soils can cause issues on structures. If the property is developed, will this affect the structure of our homes that run along the developing area if the soil is moved, or that area is built up to make it suitable for the developer? Lastly, the Meldum drain is within 500 feet of the proposed building area and does not look like it can be built on according to the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jerry Gerard. I'm also in English Oaks Sub. I don't have a written speech or anything, but I wanted to come tonight. I felt compelled you know, I heard about this development and wanting to put a street through our subdivision. I've lived here since 1997, 1998. To ditto what John said, it's a very unique sub. Most people have lived there 20-plus years because it's a unique subdivision. It's got one entrance and one exit. It's very safe for our families. We like it. We don't want the city messing with it. You guys already don't know how to plan when it comes to traffic because you're putting structures everywhere in our cool little city. You've got more apartments available in the city, I think, than are available anywhere. You got this Redwood complex that's being built, another giant sub before. I mean, traffic is quality of life, and you're taking it away. And if you put the traffic into our subdivision with a thorough way, we're all going away. Good day.
Hello, my name is Randy Walney. I also live in English Oak Subs. I think I'm going to be affected the most. I live at Oaks Drive and Golden Oaks, which is the corner lot where that dead-end street goes through. Will potentially go through, I don't know. My worry is, I went up and down from 23 mile from 94 to Jefferson. You've got 5 or 6 condos, associations that, you know, they go in one way, they come out the same way. Aspen's and this new apartments right out in front of our sub, they have 2 drives. They go in, they come out the same way. They don't go out another way. They don't dump out the backside, you know, into another subdivision or down the street. There are actually 2 condos across from Kroger's that one goes into the one behind it, and then that one dumps into a street that comes out on another side street. None of them, and the apartments, none of them tie into a subdivision, which now all of us in English Oaks, we pay associations to maintain our entrance, which is tree lined. I hate the trees, we should cut them all down, but whatever. We pay for that. We had to pay $100 as soon as we moved in. The fees went up. Now, he puts whatever in. Are we gonna charge that whole association? Are they gonna pay our dues too? Because they're gonna use our street. That might have to be, a lawyer might have to decide that. I don't know. That the drain that runs around our sub, of course. I just found out last night, my whole home sits in wetlands. I didn't know that. When I bought in 2000, I didn't know that, but that's the way it was. So they moved the wetlands. They're gonna have to move the wetlands on this property. It's so small, where are you gonna put it? The drain, I'm sorry if I know you guys didn't put anything up, but the little diagram that we were given, or that you were given, of what this gentleman wanted to do, it doesn't incorporate that drain, which is owned by the county. And that drain cuts up through the back of that property. It doesn't make a straight shot. Now in our subdivision, you can't do anything 75 to 100 feet on either side of that drain. You can't put a fence, you can't put a tree, you can't put a flower garden, you can't do anything. It's owned by the county. We have to cut the grass, we have to maintain it, because that's our association. So what's it gonna do? How far is this guy gonna move this drain like our sub did before they put it in? If he gonna leave it, that's gonna cut all the way up to the street. Because approximately from the boundary line all the way up to the front edge of that drain, it's about 220 feet that he's losing right off the bat. And it's only, what, 1279 deep? So that's almost to the street that he can't do anything with. That whole back half has gotta be redone. So that's my biggest concern. I'm just hoping that the street and anything else, if it's a single family homes, okay, thank you. Yep.
My name is Mike DeRocher. My wife and I have lived in English Oak subdivision since 1997. My son lives in Sterling Heights on what is commonly called a cut-through street. If you've ever been on a cut-through street, it's not the amount of traffic, it's also how fast these cars are going to connect from Van Dyke to Utica. I don't want to see that in my subdivision. Every time we go over there, we comment, and Mike, I can't believe the amount of traffic that goes down the street. They don't live on that street, they're just cutting through. And they have no regard for a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. The other day, we were going for a walk. I see a little guy about this high riding his bike. He still had training wheels on the bike, but he was way ahead of his mother. And sure enough, he crosses the street. Okay, a lot of people would say, well, that's the parent's responsibility. The fact of the matter is, he did it. If you have that kind of traffic in our subdivision, who's to say that a car doesn't turn right and we have a fatality? This is something we want to avoid. We don't need that in our subdivision. Thank you.
John Speaka, Chesterfield Township. I am a homeowner and a taxpayer in this township. I also consider myself a fiscal conservative hawk, safeguarding all your money. On the bill run that I'd like to discuss, it's been an issue since day one with me, and it will continue to be an issue, wasting taxpayer dollars. I will not go for that, and I will continue until this problem's solved. Under the supervisor's office, again, we've got Verizon Wireless for $80.88. Again, I've addressed this board on many occasions. I want a name on who's using that phone and where and why those tax dollars are being spent. And we also have the Bayview Inn. We have a dinner for an MTA conference. We have Buffalo Wild Wings, a luncheon for a conference at $473.30. We've got a Grand Traverse Resort for breakfast. We've got the Macomb County Chambers for Washington Township, stated the address for $60. And this one here sort of threw me for a loop because we've got what's called leadership training for $1,000. So if this leadership training came, again, there's no name on who went for this leadership training, but I'm hoping the supervisor went for this training. So, and I want a refund on the taxpayers' money for the $1,000. Under the treasurer's office, again, same thing. I've addressed this many times with her. Hotel for conference training, $798. No name. It doesn't tell me how many dates and what days they went. Two charges for $798 for hotel and conference training. Another charge for meals for 2 people, but no names on who those meals. This is taxpayers' money that we're using, and we're entitled to know who went to those conferences and what that money was used for and what the dates were. It's a simple task. It's not that difficult. I've been preaching this to you for 4 years, and you still haven't gotten it. So I will continue to preach this. And then, on top of that, I noticed that there was a Spalding deductor charge for Stonehenge Detention Pond for $9,500. Just if I can get an answer on that Stonehenge, why were the residents charged for the $9,500? Because I thought the associations were supposed to pay for that. But again, the continuation of waste of taxpayers' money, there's no transparency from this board. They don't want you to know. And that is part of the reason why I'm running for treasurer on the August 6th primary. So to end this nonsense.
Mr. Speaker, no politics, please.
James Locke, Chesterfield Township. On item F tonight on the agenda, Board of Trustees resolution for deputy compensation. As it stands now, right now, we have no deputy clerk or deputy treasurer, as I understand it. People have been assigned as assistant clerk and assistant treasurer. Are we creating 2 new jobs here? Is this adding to top end of the pay around here? Or is it the same people, the assistants, they're going to become the deputies? It's an added cost to the township. Why do we need deputies? Why do we have to pay for license and training for them? We have 2 elected officials. That's the way this township is set up, for elected officials to do this job, not to have a deputy with the same authority and the same pay and all the little upgrades that go along with it. You keep throwing money away. We don't have this kind of money, and you know it. You keep hoping and wishing that you had that money, but you don't. This has got to end somewhere. It's not all going to be on the taxpayers' heads. Thank you.
Good evening, Janice Young. First of all, I want to mention the bill run. Mr. Speaker did bring up the $9,500 payment to Spalding Decker for the Stonehenge detention pond. I'd like to know what that's for. I know the original quote was for 10% for their retainer fee on the restoring the pond, which was predicted at $27,000. So if this $9,000 is for that, I'd like to know if that's what it is. If it is, when is the SAD meeting scheduled with the residents? And if not, what is it for? Item D, well, I can't say anything that these people all said about their homes. They're clearly very passionate and want to protect them. I will say that at the April 16th Planning Commission meeting, 30 residents sent emails in opposition to the rezoning request, and 3 additional residents spoke in opposition at that meeting. I'm also opposed to this rezoning request. We already have substantial amount of multifamily with more that have already been rezoned and approved. The Planning Commission determined that this rezoning request is inconsistent with our future land use plan as detailed in our master plan. So I respectfully request that you uphold the Planning Commission's decision and respect our master plan by denying this zoning request. Item F, the deputy compensation. I looked up the statutes. It looks like they were from 1846, if what I found is correct. So I'd like to know if that is correct, then why are we all of a sudden needing to have these deputies put in place? Actually, they're 2 very high-paying positions. Also, what is the penalty if we don't comply with these statutory, rules? And if we've been out of compliance this whole time, have we incurred any penalties for that? In addition, the communities that were used as comparables didn't all have deputy clerks and treasurers listed on their websites, and not all had both deputies and assistants listed. So my concern is if the comparables don't have both, why should we have them? Item I, the speed study on 24 Mile Road. While it's commendable that this board is taking an interest in the safety of its residents on this section of 24, I would like to ask that you also take an interest in other roads as well. Residents on 24 Mile between Gratiot and Fairchild have literally been asking for help with that section of road. I see it's going to be brined for dust control, which is probably needed, but what about the speeds that the residents are concerned with on that road? Will a speed study be done on that section of 24 as well? In addition, up and down 23 Mile Road, gas stations, fast food restaurants, car washes, and apartments have been added in recent years, which has made traveling that road a nightmare. We'll be working with the county and/or state to regulate the traffic and the safety of the intersections that the residents are concerned about: Gratiot, 94, Donner, Sass, Callens, etc. I know your answer is the county or state is responsible, but I want to know, will you be advocating on our behalf to have something done? Another resident has reached out to me to let me know that she has been, in fact, reaching out to the county and the state about 23 in Gratiot, and she was told that it is considered a safely operating intersection because no one has been killed or seriously injured in 3.5 years. Please don't let it take people getting killed before something is done. Thank you.
Any further comments from the? Item 8, consent agenda. Clerk Barry.
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 14th, 2024. B, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by trustee Vosberg.
Second.
By
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 9, public hearing. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing at 7:52. Motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee DeMink. Clerk Barry, is it roll call?
Roll call.
Yep. Clerk Barry, call the roll.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Trustee Vosberg. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Public hearing's open at 7:32. Mr. O'Connor.
This is a paving special assessment project. We've had 2 informational meetings with the district, and we're available to answer questions now.
I'll open the floor to any questions from the residents on the public hearing. SAD district for Salt River Drive.
Those residents that are here regarding this is your time to speak, just to let you know if you got anything to say. If not, we understand.
Mitch, this was a petition by the residents anyways that started.
Yes, and at the meetings, the informational meetings, we answer a lot of questions about the process and, you know, the project and what it takes. If the public hearing is closed and the project moves forward, the next step would be for us to bring design plans to the board for approval. And that would happen at the next meeting to receive bids.
One more time, any public comments on this, Salt River SAD? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:54.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Clerk Barry. Clerk Barry, call the roll.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Public hearing closed at 7:54. Item 10, regular agenda. Clerk Barry.
Item A is to approve the adoption of resolution number 2024-11, number 3, for the Salt River Drive Paving Special Assessment District, SAD, to approve or determine the completion of the improvement, the plans and estimates of costs, the sufficiency of the petition, and the Special Assessment District, including the term of the district's existence.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Trustee Joseph, Supervisor Kersten will support. Pardon me? I'm sorry. Pardon me. Mitch, was there a number of years discussed on this?
The petition was circulated at an estimated construction of cost. So once the petition is accepted by the board, we will receive bids, and then the roll will be spread on the as-bid amount.
So we'll do the max 15 years. That's been our normal protocol.
Yeah, I would recommend 10 years. It's a pavement rehabilitation project. I guess the property owners would probably have some input on that, but typically we do 10 years for paving if it's a rehabilitation project, like Edgewater, Meadow Lane.
Is there discussion from board? 10 years should be sufficient. 15?
10.
10?
10.
10. So make a motion, or Trustee Joseph, you want to remake the motion with the 10-year?
Sure. Although, if I could get clarity,
Yes.
who was it that was championing 10? Is that a resident? Is it a member of the district? Thank you, okay. Yes, I would amend my motion to include a 10-year term of special assessment.
Thank you, sir. Now continue my support. Any discussion, further discussion from board?
Just one question, Mr.
Trustee
Supervisor.
Joseph, yes.
Just, I think maybe worth reiterating, we have a fairly decent-sized crowd tonight, and whenever we talk about special assessment districts, we hear taxes, and I want to make it abundantly clear that special assessment district is not a tax for the entire township. This is a district where the homeowners who will benefit from whatever the proposed improvement will take on the cost of that improvement, and the township's role is really just to facilitate the improvement and give estimates for the cost to each member of that special assessment district, and that this is not a tax of the entire township.
That is all correct. The project is initiated by a property owner within the district for a public improvement, which could be a water main, a sanitary sewer, paving, or lighting. But
Thanks,
the township does not start, and you're right, the township is a vehicle to get the project built.
Thanks, Mitch.
Any further discussion? I have a motion by Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve the resolution for a 10-year period. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10B.
Item 10B is to approve a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to appoint Andrea Parambano to the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term starting June 1st, 2024 through June 1, 2027.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee DeMink,
Support.
supported by Trustee Joseph. Ms. Vanderson.
Thank you. Andrea Paravano is a township employee. She also lives in the township with her family and is interested in getting more involved in her township where she lives, works, and plays. Her position will be filling the vacancy recently left by John Nader. He moved out of Chesterfield, which is why he needed to step down from the commission.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Questions from the board? Seeing none. I have a motion by Trustee DeMink, supported by Trustee Joseph, to approve the appointment. Clerk Berry.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10C.
Item 10C is to approve a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to appoint Cassidy Seabrook to the Beautification Commission and Tree Board for a term May 28th, 2024 through May 28th, 2027.
Move to approve.
Trustee Vosberg,
Second.
supported by Clerk Berry. Ms. Vanderson.
In my conversations with Cassidy Seabrook, her biggest thing that she wanted is to give back to the community, and she wanted to bring a younger voice to the commission, where she feels like that hasn't been there in a couple of years. So she is looking forward to expanding her role in the township as well.
Discussion from the board? Seeing none. I have a motion by Trustee Vosberg, supported by Clerk Berry, to approve the appointment. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink. Aye. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 10D.
Item 10D is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny the request to rezone 2.84 acres of property located on the south side of 23 Mile Road and west of Sass Road from R1B Residential One Family to RM1 Residential Multifamily, parcel ID number 1509221011016, address 31450 23 Mile Road.
Is there a motion to deny the request?
So moved.
Trustee Joseph, supported by Trustee DeMink.
Let me just get this straight for all of us, and so all you know. The motion is to approve what the Planning Commission recommended, which I sit on, and most of you residents were there at that meeting, that to deny the request for the zoning. That's what you people want, and that's what the Planning Commission voted on unanimously that night. So I'm just letting you know that's the wording of the motion. Is that correct, Mr. Siebert? Do we have that correct?
That is correct. He just wants you to add the reason for denial.
Yeah, when you make a motion on a rezoning, you have to set forth with particularity the reasons for the motion. So if you are making a motion to deny the rezoning, you have to set forth the reasons on the record.
All right, let me go back into this. David, you got it in front of you?
I've got it. The Planning Commission is recommending denial of this proposed rezoning based on the it being inconsistent with the future land use plan as detailed within the master plan. You want to add that to your motion?
David made the motion, I
I'm
seconded
sorry,
it.
trustee Joseph, yeah.
For me.
You go with that, trustee Joseph?
I am good
Add
with
more?
that. Are we open for discussion, Mr. Supervisor?
Discussion. George?
Yes, not only,
Trustee Joseph?
not only is it inconsistent with the master plan, I think the Planning Commission got it right, and they heard from the residents who, really, some of them wrote letters that are really quite compelling. And it is always a good night for me and a reminder of why we are in such a great township. When residents get together, they talk with their neighbors, they talk about their quality of life. I really appreciated, I think I just saw him leave, but Mr. Sampiku, who talked about it, English Oaks being one of the best kept secrets. It won't be when he keeps coming to public hearings and talking about your neighborhood, but I didn't catch the name of the very first speaker. She talked about why she moved back to this community. It's where she was raised, and in that subdivision, and being near her parents and having the grandkids there, the cut-through and the increased traffic would be horrendous. Ms. McPherson also spoke. John, as I mentioned, best-kept secret, English Oaks, not such a secret anymore. Mr. Gerard and Mr. Walney and Mike DeRocher all gave compelling statements to this board, but also at the Planning Commission. They were very respectful and pointed out the concerns with their quality of life. I think the board should take note, however, of all the letters that we received, the work that was done, and I'm going to really tear up her last name, but it's Swatanowski. Ms. Swatanowski, she looks like she went door to door and gathered petition signatures from all of her neighbors and appropriately bundled those up with notes from every signature talking about all of the reasons why that this rezoning should be denied. And they are a testament to what happens when neighbors get together and bring their concerns to their elected officials. I really do appreciate the time and energy that was put into this initiative, not only showing up at the Planning Commission, but also coming to our board to reiterate the concerns that were expressed during the public hearings. Personally, I'm not a fan of rezoning property for an increased density. I think the gentleman that got up and talked about the parent who was out with their kid is something that we see almost every day in our subdivision, my subdivision, and I'm in a place where we don't have cut-throughs. We have a lot of cul-de-sacs, and you still see, you know, young parents who are trying to balance maybe a pet that they have on the leash, and then the kid is on the bike, and residential speed limits are set that low to really accommodate those kinds of emergencies. But when we increase the density of a neighborhood and we create situations, I think it is the elected officials who are at fault, not the parents. We are creating hazards like that. So I, for one, am not a fan of rezoning anything that creates a more dense footprint. And I think, Trustee DeVlaminck, your work on the Planning Commission, I think you got this right. And special thanks to Mr. Renaud, who brought the motion forward to deny this. It's clear that we listen to our residents, and I'm very much in support of the work that was done on planning to deny this rezoning. Thank you.
Trustee DeVlaminck.
Thank you, Trustee Joseph. Like I said, there was a lot of residents there. It was a unanimous vote by the Planning Commission to deny it. Also, so the board knows, the person who wanted to develop it was at the meeting, but he never came forward that night. He did not speak on it at all. I knew who he was. You folks didn't know, but I knew he was sitting out there. So he did not come forward, but he was here that night. And that's all I have. Jonathan?
Mr. Palin, anything to add?
Nothing to add. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, I have none. Square peg in a round hole. I have a motion by trustee Joseph, supported by trustee DeMink, to approve, to recommend the denial of the request.
The motion is to deny the rezoning for the reasons given by Joseph.
Correct.
The motion is to deny.
Correct. Motion to deny the rezoning, as already stated for the record. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10. Item 10E.
Item 10E is to approve a request by Autumn Lake Subdivision to put on a commercial fireworks display over the lake within Autumn Lake Subdivision on Saturday, June 29th, 2024.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Trustee Joseph. Supported by trustee Vosberg. Any discussion from the board? Any discussion from the board? Director Bassett, you want to direct us? We'll give you a minute. If you guys want to exit, go ahead. Director Bassett, go ahead.
Just briefly on this matter, this has been reviewed by the appropriate departments, and any costs that public safety will incur are going to be reimbursed by the petitioner.
Questions from the board? I have a motion by trustee Joseph, supported by trustee Vosberg, to approve the request. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10F.
Item 10F is a recommendation for the Board of Trustees to adopt resolution number 2024-14, deputy compensation.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
Motion to adopt resolution number 2024-14.
Motion by Clerk Berry. Is there any support?
Support.
Support Treasurer Elliott. Discussion. Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I appreciate the opportunity to bring this before the board and also just to answer some questions I know that have been brought forward by board members as well as by the public. I'd just like to take this opportunity to read from MCL 41.69, which, as was mentioned earlier, originally was drafted in 1846. It's had many amendments since then, the most recent of which June 20th, 1989. And I'm only reading from the township clerk, but the township treasurer's designation 41.77 essentially says the same thing. You're welcome to read it, but with regards to a deputy, this is what it says. Each township clerk, within the time limit for filing the oath of office and before entering upon the duties of the office, shall give a bond to the township in the sum and with sureties that the township board requires and approves, conditioned for the faithful discharge of the duties of the office according to law, including the safekeeping of records, books, and papers to the township in the manner required by law, and for their delivery on demand to the township clerk's successor in office. The bond shall be filed in the office of the supervisor. The township clerk shall appoint a deputy who shall serve at the pleasure of the clerk. The deputy shall take an oath of office and file the oath with the clerk. In case of the absence, sickness, death, or other disability of the clerk, the deputy shall possess the powers and perform the duties of the clerk, except the deputy shall not have a vote on the township board. The deputy shall be paid a salary or otherwise as the township board determines. With the approval of the township clerk, the deputy may assist the township clerk in the performance of the township clerk's duties at any additional times agreed upon between the board and the clerk, except the deputy shall not have a vote on the township board. So in short, and of course our legal counsel, if I'm incorrect, can please correct me, the clerk and the treasurer, every clerk and treasurer in the state of Michigan is required by law to appoint a deputy. So I'm not sure in terms of on the comparable schedule, if it didn't say whether they had an assistant or not. Assistants are not required. The law allows for assistants to be appointed, but the one thing that is required of us by law, and every clerk and treasurer in the state of Michigan must have a deputy. Unfortunately, that's the way the law reads. The deputy does act in the stead of the clerk or the treasurer, as the law stipulates that I've read to you. It also states that the only entity that can set the salary for those deputies is the township board. And that is why this item is in front of the board this evening. Historically, in Chesterfield, we have had deputies, we've always had deputies because they've been required by law, but historically the deputies here have been existing township employees who are willing to take on the additional duties of a deputy for an additional stipend amount in addition to their regular salary. However, in the course of the last year and a half or so, both of those deputies, both the deputy clerk and deputy treasurer, by reasons of either retirement or by just has no longer agreed to do those, both the Treasurer Elliott and I have lost our deputies that we had for our longstanding deputies. Treasurer Elliott's retired, and my deputy, as I read to you earlier today, in this meeting, just the increased workload is so tremendous at this time that it would be too much for any one individual person to do who has a current job description here with a number of other things. Former Deputy Clerk Niza was essentially doing 2 full-time jobs for the latter part of the last couple of years, and it's just as overwhelming. It just can't be done by one person anymore. So therefore, she has declined the deputy duties at this time. So that required both Treasurer Elliott and myself to hire new deputies, to appoint new deputies. We can't force people to do that job. We ask them. They are appointed, and there is a considerable amount of responsibility that goes with those positions because they are deputized to do all of the things that we do, except obviously vote on the board. So there's a considerable amount of responsibility, and it is a full-time job. We are full-time clerk and treasurers, and our deputies must also be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like we are. That's a requirement. So they must be bonded as we are as well and insured. So this is a mandate from the state government, from the state law that requires that we have these deputies, and it is also a requirement of state law that the township board sets their salaries. So because these are 2 new deputies, I am bringing this item forward for the board to do as they are required by law to do, and that is to set their salary. We cannot arbitrarily do that ourselves. That has to be approved by the board. So therefore, that's why I brought the item forward, is to provide the salary as required by law, or the stipulation, the mechanism, and that's why it's in front of the board. So we're not asking the board to approve deputies. That's already a mandate. We're just asking them to set a salary for them as the law stipulates. At least I don't mean to speak for Treasurer Elliott, but I know we're in the same boat. So, but that's why I brought this item forward to the board.
Thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion? Trustee Joseph?
Yes. I was hoping to hear from the treasurer, and I didn't want to jump in front of you if you had anything to add there. But this agenda item has resulted in a lot of conversation, and I appreciate the phone calls from both the treasurer and the clerk. I think I understand the issue fairly well, and I agree. There is, I believe, clearly a need for a deputy, not just the statutorily mandated deputy that we've always had, but a deputy that answers to the elected official that they're serving. Forever, that I can recall, the deputy treasurer, the deputy clerk, was always a longstanding employee with a lot of experience who was given the additional responsibilities of the deputy of whatever office they were in as a stipend. So the board set the salary as a supplement to their full-time position. Over the years, it's created some real problems because the Township Charter Act clearly defines that the supervisor is the CEO, the CFO, the person responsible for day-to-day operations. So, in essence, what you could have is if the supervisor and the other elected officials aren't in agreement or there's ongoing, problems, the deputy gets entangled in that because their primary job, I guess their title, every deputy that I've ever seen, the card said deputy clerk or deputy treasurer. That appeared to be their primary job, but it really wasn't. It was only a small percentage of their salary and compensation. And if there were problems, outside of the retirement that Treasurer Elliott dealt with, but if a deputy clerk in Clerk Berry's position just decides that they don't want to be the deputy clerk anymore, they just sort of revert back to their full-time role in the clerk's office. So I understand the desire and the need, but the area that I'm a little concerned about, and something that I think I've talked with both of you, Clerk Berry and Treasurer Elliott, is what is the compensation package, from a benefit standpoint, and the legacy costs associated with an additional FTE? The job of deputy clerk and deputy treasurer has been filled as long as I've been in here, so the board is not in non-compliance with state law. But the question becomes, what are the duties of the deputy treasurer and the deputy clerk? And then where do we go with our existing employees? So our existing workforce, and I've heard from them, including their union representation, who says, listen, we've always performed that job, and now what you're doing is you're creating a completely new position, and you're going to pay that individual for the job that, in essence, one of us has been doing at a considerably higher rate. And I worry about our relationship with our employees, and not to say that we, don't have grievances from time to time, but what about the consultation with our township employees and talking with them about this new person that will be in their office that reports only? It's a significant change from what we've done historically. And I would like to see some communication with them. And Clerk Berry, I understand that it is your prerogative. If the board passed this, you could appoint whoever you wanted to appoint. There would be no review from HR or the supervisor's office or any member of this board. You would just singularly select the individual that you thought best represented your office and in your stead should you not be there. That is a massive undertaking. And I think bringing together not only our HR department, which we don't have an HR director, but understanding what the ramifications are for our new formed position. Also the budget. What do we have in the budget that affords us the ability to bring on what's being proposed here is a roughly $80,000 salary with full benefits and all of the compensation packages that go with that. This would be a strictly political appointment that I can't help but also look at the calendar. We're roughly 3 months out from a primary election, and what you're proposing is that the board appoint roughly $250,000 in salary and benefits per year for a position that could be eradicated in November. So these seats don't belong to us. There are a number of individuals vying for this position, and if we're going to provide the treasurer and the clerk an opportunity to appoint a deputy, wouldn't we be better served to do that at the beginning of our term if we're fortunate enough to be here, to say that your appointment is at least a full term. If we're doing it 3 months before, we don't have the support or understanding of our existing employees. I think that's a mistake. 2, the legal opinion that was provided saying that there's no violation of the contract isn't as encompassing and comprehensive as I'd like. I'd really like to have a situation where we sit down with our union employees and talk with them about what this looks like. And last, as I mentioned, the timeliness of this is very, very difficult. I would propose, instead of a resolution outlining a full compensation package for a full-time employee, that we look to collectively come together to figure out how we can get the treasurer and the clerk the staff that they need for the remainder of their term, at least their guaranteed term, and then look to set the next board, the incoming board, with the proper tools and the long overdue, revisions that we need to make, but not 3 months before a primary. I think that's a little bit, well, it's foolish. It really is. I think that we should look to make sure that we have the staff that you need to conduct the election, that you need to conduct audits and all of the Treasury responsibilities, but encumbering the future board with a plan that isn't really fully vetted yet, I think is irresponsible. So I 100% believe that both the full-time elected officials deserve to have a deputy that reports to them, and that comes with the office. But give the electorate the opportunity to understand, Clerk Berry, when they vote for you, they're voting for you and a duplicate salary, which is almost commensurate with yours, with a benefits package that is commensurate with yours for 4 years. That's what they're, because there's a tremendous amount of trust given to you by the voter when they pay you to do a job and your deputy, which will make as much as you. They should know that going in, that that's something that I think we should do for the next board. And given the current state of this proposal, I think there's just too many unanswered questions for me to support it. And I welcome any information from the treasurer or the clerk to refute or talk about what my concerns are. But as it stands right now, with all the deliberation I've done, I don't think I can support this at this time. Thank you, sir.
Hold up. Further discussion? Treasurer Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So the historical structure just is set a $3,000 stipend, which was not actually done by board approval. It was done just through a letter of understanding. Back when the original deputy treasurer was originally just an appointed position, and it was in the 90s when the township unionized, and that's when that structure became what it was that you inherited when you started on the board, which was a coordinator position with a stipend for an appointed deputy. And in the documents that were shared with you, you saw that that was something that was very clearly explained. You can't, and in that document from the labor attorney, it does explain in there that it is recognized by the union in those documents that that position is appointed and that there was a stipend. It was very clearly said that. And so the duties, as the clerk had read, are that is to be the clerk or the treasurer and in their absence, and that is very clear. You can go through the statutory duties and read through them, but that's the position. Now, as I had spoken to you, it doesn't make any difference to me what number you put on this, whether it's, as I had said, you could do $78,000, you could do $40,000, you could do $35 an hour, you could do $25 an hour. Makes zero difference to me, but it's just to give clearly the folks who are doing this job a clear understanding from the board of what is their compensation. If you don't want to give them benefits, that's fine, don't give them benefits. But understand that this is, and I think that's what the clerk is saying, it's a very big responsibility to ask somebody to do for an hourly wage without any direction from the board and without any benefits. And so I simply think that if you're not comfortable with this package, at least put a number on it that is. And I think Trustee Joseph and I had the conversation about, go ahead and say it's $35 an hour. You already have folks who are doing that, and that would be a little bit less than what this is. And I believe that's at the lowest level of the management wages.
Thank you. Any further comments? Any further comments? Round two, Clerk Berry.
Well, and just to answer a couple of those questions as well, and Treasurer Elliott touched on it. This is a position that exists because the law says it must. We are required to do that. The law also says the board must set the salary. So those are two mandates that the law gives us. If we don't do either one of those, I feel like we're out of compliance. One, if we don't have a deputy, or we don't provide a salary for a deputy in order to secure one, and we don't have one, and no one's willing to do it for nothing, then we're out of compliance. We can't force people to do the job, but we have to incentivize them to do the job. Secondly, if the board does not set the salary, then we are out of compliance because that's what the law says. The board sets the salary. For Treasurer Elliott and I to set a salary, or for Supervisor Kersten to have set a salary, is out of compliance because it is the board that has to set it. The law says that. So I'm having a hard time taking no action on this, and as Treasurer Elliott said, if $78,000, which by the way is the average, deputy clerk in Bloomfield makes $93,000, Commerce Township $82,800, Orion Township has $4,000 plus $215 a meeting. Redford has $67,000 to $88,000, Shelby $65,000, Waterford $81,000, West Bloomfield $69,000, Ypsilanti $69,000. And the reason those were chosen is because they have comparable numbers of population and registered voters. So the level of responsibility is comparable. So 78,000 is literally the average. If the board does not like that number, just give us another number. But we do not have a mechanism to ensure that we're able to comply. Right now, the way the deputies are structured is they are both called part-time. They are part-time, non-union positions that are being paid at an hourly rate with overtime. Now, they also receive the $3,000 stipend. So we are already paying these folks that are currently sitting in these positions, but they are interim positions. They are interims until we can secure them with a salary set by the board. So we're in a very strange space because we have part-time, essentially part-time employees that we have management level folks reporting to. Full-time management level are reporting to part-time non-union employees, which is fine that they're non-union, but I want to make it clear that they are already doing it and they are already non-represented. So we already have them, at least interim folks. We already are paying them an hourly wage, but it is under a different designation. So it's a strange hybrid, and it really creates issues from time to time with them being able to administer the duties of the deputy position. For whatever reason. Recently, we were told that because they are designated as part-time, that they have to take 3 weeks off. We have to give them 3 weeks off because of some running afoul of some labor issues. Well, we can't do that. We can't dismiss the deputy for 3 weeks. So that's just one of the issues, of just practical issues that we run into. So this has been broken for a very long time, and we need to fix it. And we have an opportunity to do that. And the board has a statutory responsibility to set the salary. Again, whatever it is, if $78,000 isn't acceptable, what would be? Because in the event, and as Trustee Joseph pointed out, see, this should be about the position. It's not about the person. It's about the position, and this is a position required by law. So if there is a change in the elected official this year, the new elected official currently has no mechanism at all to appoint a deputy. They have no salary to offer them. So how does the new clerk, the new treasurer, if those are different folks, how do they comply with the law? How do they appoint a deputy when they have no salary to provide them? So this is actually being very responsible and proactive in ensuring that the clerk and treasurers for the next 4 years have a mechanism in place to comply with the law. And that's just a piece that Chesterfield has never had. And so as far as the duties are concerned, the duties that are outlined by the deputy clerk, or excuse me, the assistant clerk and the assistant treasurer which are collective bargaining unit negotiated positions, are completely different and separate from the deputy role. The deputy position and the deputy duties have none of those. Deputies act as the elected official does when the elected official is not present, sickness, death. That's for continuity of government. That's why the state legislature set it up that way. So whether or not we agree with it, that's what the law is. And in order for us to comply with the law, in order for the next treasurer and clerk for 2024 through 2028, in order to give them the ability to do that, they have to have a mechanism in order to do that. I would also say that these positions, these deputy positions, have no security whatsoever. They serve at the pleasure of the elected official. If the elected official wants to dismiss them tomorrow, they can do that. And they have no recourse at all. They can't, they have no rights. They serve at the pleasure of the elected official. So when the appointment is made, the appointment can also be rescinded at any time. So as far as the timing of it and when it occurs is really irrelevant, because a deputy can change at any time. I came in one day, I had a deputy, the next day I didn't. Now I found myself in a position I had to appoint somebody somewhere, so I had a part-time individual who was willing to do it in the interim until something was settled here by the board and determined by the board. So we're just asking the board to set a number, to set the salary, because they are the only entity who can do that. And so that's what we're asking to, that's what I'm asking for.
Further discussion. Trustee Joseph. I think Trustee Vosberg, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First of all, I have a question for the attorney. Do we currently, the $3,000 stipend per deputy that we have, that's currently in practice? Is that considered in compliance with Michigan compiled law?
Let me answer that in two parts. The only obligation that the board has is to set a salary. I've seen in many communities before, some communities have a full-time deputy that is, in some cases, they're part of a union, even though they can be dismissed by the deputy or by the clerk or the treasurer for any reason or no reason. There are some communities that have a full-time deputy. Many communities simply have an existing employee where they pay a stipend. Your longtime township deputy treasurer was a member of a union who was paid a stipend above and beyond her typical salary to be the deputy. As long as the board funds it in some fashion, you comply with the statute. I am at a complete disadvantage, however, with respect to your union agreements. As you know, for the last 20 years, you've had labor counsel that's done all your labor work. I haven't looked at a collective bargaining agreement in Chesterfield in 20 years because you've got labor counsel. I had requested the supervisor to obtain a legal opinion from your labor counsel as to whether or not, because my concern was that this was going to violate your collective bargaining agreement. And he called me and he authored an opinion that all the board members, I'm certain, have, where he indicated that it is not inconsistent with your collective bargaining agreement. So to have a standalone position outside the union does not violate any of the current collective bargaining agreements. That being said, Cindy's right that she has the absolute right and statutory obligation to appoint a deputy, as does Kathy. But I've been in communities where they don't pay 80 or 90, they may pay a stipend for it. That's a decision that the board has to make. As long as you fund it in some mechanism, you're compliant. Whether it's a full-time position or you take an existing clerical employee, get with the union, and pay them a stipend over and above their existing salary, you're compliant. Whether it's $30 an hour or it's $80,000 a year in salary, you're compliant. The statute does not obligate the board to pay any amount in salary, just to set it.
Okay, thank you. Then the second question I have is regarding the document that we have here in front of us that points out all of the compensation and the benefits, retirement, things like that. How was that document prepared? Did the HR department prepare that? The resolution that's on the agenda tonight.
It has historically been compensated through the labor agreements. You're asking if the board had a specific amount?
No, I'm asking this deputy compensation
I'm sorry.
resolution that's on the agenda.
I did not. HR did not. I had nothing to do with this. Our HR department had nothing. I don't know where this came from. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I have the answer. I have the answer for that. So the language itself was actually pulled from an employment agreement that Attorney Siebert drafted, and I just pulled it out and put it in a resolution format. But the actual language itself, all the whereases, with the exception of addition of MCL 41.77, which to accommodate the treasurer, Attorney Siebert had prepared an employment agreement for a deputy clerk, and I simply made it so that it was both clerk and treasurer. But the actual, all the language in the whereases was Attorney Siebert's language.
Let me put a fine point on that, because I want the record to be clear. I did prepare an agreement at the clerk's request. She had requested that I put together a standalone employment agreement for deputy clerk and deputy treasurer. I said, look, you give me the terms, you give me the salary, you give me the benefits, you give me whatever benefit you're gonna give to this deputy, you give it to me, and I'll put it in a very simplistic employment agreement. So with that charge, I was given salary, I was given benefit, I was given all the other issues, and I took it. I've drafted 1,000 contracts over the years. I've simply taken one, cut and pasted, and put those numbers in it, gave it back to the clerk, and that was my role in it. But I don't want the record to reflect that I had any input, didn't negotiate anything, have no idea what these numbers are for, don't know what the duties of any of these people are. I was simply given, here it is, put it in an agreement, and I did it. So that's what you have.
Okay, thank you. But I guess my concern was, if this were passed, is it in the proper language that it can be utilized by the clerks and the clerk and the treasurer for their deputies? For example, it's an at-will position, those types of things. And is the salary prorated by the number of days that language? That's what my question is.
That is not included in the resolution. The statute specifically states that they serve at the will of the treasurer and at the will of the clerk. That's statutory.
But is it assumed that there's a salary stated? Is it how do we assume, or how do we know that that's prorated by the number of days that employee works during the year?
It doesn't say that. You would presume that if they work 4 months, that they're going to get 4/12 of whatever that salary is. But the other benefits, whether they vest, I have no idea.
All right, thank you. Historically, I have always supported the concept of having a position, a deputy position, for the clerk and the treasurer, because it is a statutory thing. And it's also very important that they have somebody that they can ask to perform duties that are what they want done, how they want done. That's the nature of this type of position. I've always supported that. I can remember prior discussions during budget, my first term, during the budget process, that I wanted to have those positions put in. They didn't make it because there wasn't enough support here. I still support this. I'm glad it has come this far. My concern about approving this tonight, though, is that I want it to be something that will be long-lasting, and that we also have other department heads who are not part of a bargaining unit. And while this is not the same, because there's nothing statutory that says we have to have these other department heads, to me, the timing of it is something that I think should be worked on together with that, and also with the regular elected pay, which isn't part of this as well. So for that reason, I can't support it tonight, but I want it to be something that we continue working on. Thank you.
Trustee Anderson.
Yeah, listen to this debate going back and forth here. I understand the statutory principles about having deputy clerks, deputy treasurers. That's not the question. Somehow we survived up to this point, paying a stipend. Understand it's problematic. A person may feel overworked, go back. This package coming up here, I just have a question. We're looking at probably well over $300,000 addition to a cost for it. And I think I understand the need for it. I believe that the treasurer and the clerk and the appropriate union representation should meet and try to iron something out here ASAP so that the township is not out of compliance with this issue. And again, as it stands now, I can't support this. Thank you.
Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, I agree, Trustee Anderson. The difficulty that I had, and I'm trying to be like diplomatic, but the reality is what we're asking, and Hank, you put a number on it. I think it is probably close to 300K. But what you're asking is, I run for clerk, I run for treasurer, I can appoint my brother, my wife, my sister. That person answers only to me. There is no hourly timesheet that I can review or you could review to see if the taxpayers are getting just like the elected officials. There's no time clock. So when you go to the polls to vote for your full-time elected officials, you have to know that you're also giving them the power to appoint whoever they want. No background checks, no resume consideration. It's just that elected official can appoint whoever they want. And the resolution that was given to the board really doesn't clarify. They get an annual compensation amount of $78,000, but paid when? Biweekly, monthly, annually? Should be in the resolution. The employment benefits. So I don't know how the benefits work here. Trustees don't get a benefits package, but if a new hire comes in, are they provided health, dental, vision, life, day one? And then if they're separated, then they have a right to maybe ask for COBRA and continue their benefits even after the elected official has parted ways. The retirement, there's a retirement package of $457 deferred compensation plan, which will be in the amount of 7% of their annual base pay. I don't know that there should be anything other than a base pay because there is no overtime afforded to elected officials, so that is the pay. That's not clarified. Any licenses or training that's required by the deputy shall be paid for by the township, including all of their travel expenses, meals, parking, mileage. We heard residents historically go to the podium and they pick apart the bill run, talking about travel expenses. That gets worse. That gets worse under this, or better, depending on how you see it. All of the electronic devices that are necessary to equip that individual, so laptops and computers, and any other electronic devices. And this is all done by the elected official. I think you should know about that when you go to the polls. I think that you should know what the power is that you're giving the elected officials. That should be something that a well-informed voter looks into. And so when they say do I think this candidate or that candidate? You also have to keep in mind that they will, by your vote, and if there are a majority of people that think like you, they will get the benefit of appointing whoever they want as their deputy. I think the debate as it goes on, you'll see it's clear that we need to move into a place where the elected officials have a confidential appointee serving as their deputy. Again, I can't think of a worse time to do it than 3 months before an election at the tail end of a 4-year term. I agree with you, Clerk Barry, that we do need to work to provide this because it's not about your deputy, it's about the deputy for the clerk's office, it's about the deputy for the treasurer's office, and I say no disrespect intended. There's a dozen or people running for this job, the trustee job, but you have opponents. I think that rather than set this in motion for, again, hastily, I think it's been a long time coming, and I agree with Trustee Vosberg, long overdue. But we could do better than this in terms of answering all the questions. And again, I appreciate Attorney Siebert, the request for the labor attorney to look and see if there was some kind of bold violation of the contract or grievable element of the contract, and I'm content that there's not. But that doesn't mean that the dozen people in the audience tonight who are confused about how this position impacts them don't have a voice too. And they don't even have an HR director currently. And I think that a move of this magnitude should have the full benefit of a comprehensive and well-vetted contract and resolution. I reject the argument that somehow we're all in noncompliance and violating the law. And if you force the issue to set an hourly rate, I don't know that that's going to go great. But if you want to have a discussion, Treasurer Elliott, and as you said, I don't care, paraphrasing, I don't care what the number is, if it's this amount or that amount, or just give me an amount. You brought the motion. You and Clerk Barry brought the motion. You should bring it with a specific ask. And if there's a fallback position, I would say that you were encumbered with giving the number, and also what it is that you need from this board in a deputy in terms of the amount of hours and so forth, and then the board, I think, would be interested in accommodating you. But what you're asking for is a full-time employee, almost 80K, benefits, you can add another 30%, incredible increase in power for the elected officials. That's coming 3 months before a primary, and I think we should make sure that the voters know when they go to the polls that when they're voting for the treasurer or the clerk, they're also voting for that individual's appointment to a deputy. And I don't want to, I really am not comfortable primarily of the timing of this being my primary concern. Thank you.
Just a couple comments. Trustee DeVlaminck, go.
I've been listening to this discussion going back and forth, and I agree they need a deputy at some point. But I agree with what Trustee Joseph said, and that doesn't usually happen with Trustee Joseph and I, but his points are very right on, and I agree with what he said, especially with everything going on right now with an election. Also, just quick math, if you're putting a deputy in for June, July, August, September, and October, you're talking $32,500. That's just taking the $78,000 and dividing it out by 12 months, and what you're getting at $6,500 a month. So I think this needs to sit on the sideline for a bit. I will not support it.
Just some comments from me. I've let each of you know what my position is on this, and it's repetitive just to repeat it. Historically, we're operating in how this township has operated historically. There were, as the attorney indicated, the historically played into labor agreements, which several contracts here did. I think we have the ability in the coming months to rectify this. It just can't be done right now, and I think properly formulated agreement, properly presented, properly budgeted, for a new fiscal year would be the right opportunity to present it and discuss it at the board level, and I think we do. I know we don't have an HR department, but we've got a great HR consultant who has complete experience in this and would be able to guide and direct this board back to what I think both the clerk and treasurer want, and we can achieve that at a later date. So, any further comments? Clerk Berry.
Yep. I'm very encouraged that we're finally having the discussion. This discussion has been a very long time coming, and I'm sure it's kind of monotonous and boring for those who have to listen to it in the audience. Apologize for that, but this is something that has been needed for a long time, and I think everyone's alluded to that. And given the spirit of what I'm hearing from my fellow colleagues is that we want to do this, we just don't want to do it now, and we want to do it differently. I'm okay with those things. Completely okay with them. We got to do it sooner, I think, rather than later, but I understand. I've been in politics a long time, and I understand exactly what's going on. So I'm okay with that. After November is a whole other world, and quite frankly, here in Chesterfield, after August is another whole different world, and I understand that as well. I just saw something that was wrong. The timing of it was not my choice. I was presented with that timing, where I had to appoint a new deputy. So that was not my choice or my option, but when it came to the position where I had to fill it, how do you pay for it? What are you going to pay them? And then that's how the discussion came up. And that's when we realized the board has to set the salary, and the board never did historically set a salary. So that was the challenge that myself and HR had, and we were just trying to figure out how to navigate it, and we're looking to the board for some direction. But I would hope that in the coming weeks and months that board members will have conversations with us and we can put something together that everybody approves of. I think that would be great. Just for the record, though, the retirement piece, that 7% would be no more than, under this scenario, $5,460 plus 78, that's 82. And then the health, dental, vision, that's nothing different than any other employee here at the township receives, no better, no worse. I don't believe that number is as high as is suggested, but we'll get all of that and bring that to the board for their consideration as well. I hope that the board members will cooperate with us to put something together. That's my ask. My ask is that there be some communication with us so that we can get this addressed here and going forward. So we do currently have this in our budgets, both Treasurer Elliott and I. This would not be a budget amendment. We already have this money in our budget, and we are already paying people as well. So know that. As far as just the miscellaneous, we already have given them, they already have phones and computers and all of that. We've already set them up for training. Some of them have already received the training, or at least my deputy clerk has. So, because she had to, it was required. So much of this is already either being done or has been done, but I understand. And given what I'm hearing from my fellow board members, I'd like to withdraw my motion to approve this at this time. And again, look forward to cooperation with all of you as Treasurer Elliott and I will just proceed as we have, the best that we can. And I want to thank you for your consideration. I withdraw my motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Any further discussion? Treasurer Elliott? Move on to item 10G.
Item 10G is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to partner with Macomb County Department of Roads 2024 Limestone Program to improve over 4 miles of gravel road within Chesterfield Township. The match will be 10% of the total project cost in the amount of $46,688.
So moved.
Trustee DeVlaminck?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Joseph.
Trustee Anderson.
Trustee Anderson, I'm sorry. Discussion? Mitch, they added a few miles this year, right?
Yeah, typically we do 3 miles. I think Ray Township opted to take 1.5, so we took 1.5 miles of Ray Township, I believe it was. Or it might have been Lennox. A community north of us didn't want to do all 3 miles, so we took half of it.
So there is an addition. Historically, we've done 3 miles.
Correct. And in your packet, I believe there's a map. It's a program we've done with the county since 2018. And on that map has, which we can't put on the board, I apologize, but on that map it has every year what we've done and what we're proposing to do this year.
Question from the board? A motion by trustee DeMink, supported by trustee Anderson to approve item 10G. Clerk Berry?
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10H.
Item 10H2 is approve a recommendation from Public Services to authorize Supervisor Kersten to sign the annual agreement with the Macomb County Department of Roads to participate in the 2024 Dust Control Brine Program for county roads in Chesterfield Township.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Clerk
Support.
Berry? Supported by trustee Vosberg.
Again, this is an annual program we work through with the county. The first two applications, the county pays for. The cost you see is if the township does a third application, if the township requests a third application, the township would pay for it. And I think historically, we request a third application, I think usually for 24 Mile Road, which would be a small percentage of the 20,000 there.
Discussion from the board? Seeing no discussion, I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by trustee Vosberg to approve item 10H.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott. Aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 10I.
Item 10I is to adopt resolution number 2024-13 of the Chartered Township of Chesterfield requesting a Michigan State Police speed study for the 24-mile road from Huntley Avenue to Baker Road.
Just for some background, Director Bass, you want to address this one?
Should probably make a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll also make a motion.
Trustee DeMink, make a motion to approve.
Support.
Treasurer Elliott, support. Director Bassett.
This is a request in working with our partners in New Baltimore. They have, where 24 Mile meets there at Chesterfield and New Baltimore, their speed limit is 25, ours is 55 as they meet. So we're requesting in conjunction with New Baltimore, they've already passed the resolution at their board, requesting the same speed study. There is not a cost to the township to conduct this speed study.
Questions from the board? Any questions? I have a motion by trustee DeMink, supported by Treasurer Elliott to approve item 10I. Clerk Berry?
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10J.
Item 10J is to approve a request by IT to enter into an agreement with N-Able for email security, antivirus, and remote monitoring for the cost not to exceed $19,390.80 per year.
Is there a motion to approve? Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support? Trustee Vosberg. Ms. Garber, do you want to explain?
Formerly, when we were with our former vendor, we had a similar product that was our email security, antivirus, and remote monitoring. That we paid a lot more money for. So this would be, we'd purchase it on our own. That way, if we ever switched vendors, we would still have the contract. And by purchasing it on our own, we save around $15,000 a year.
Questions from the board? Any questions from the board? I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10J. Clerk Berry?
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott. Aye. Clerk Berry, no.
Item 10K.
Item 10K is to approve a recommendation by the IT Department to purchase 20 desktop PCs from Dell in the amount of $33,131 and 12 laptop computers in the amount of $21,046 for a total amount of $54,177.08.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Trustee Vosberg, Supervisor Kersten will support. Karen, Paul?
So we're looking at purchasing 20 desktop PCs and 12 laptops. In the past, we were only purchasing minimally, I believe it was 2 a year, so it did make us fall behind and have several old computers now. We did attach the quotes for both the desktops and the laptops, along with what departments they are going to. And I have our IT coordinator here, Paul Evans, in case you have any further questions.
Questions from the board? Questions? Seeing no questions, I have a motion by trustee Vosberg, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10K. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott. Aye. Clerk Berry, no.
Item 11, addendums. There are no addendums. Item 12, public comments. When you please come up, you don't have to state your name, but it's nice for us to keep track of who's speaking. You have 3 minutes. We can stick to the 3 minutes, that would be helpful. The mic is open. Let me interrupt. You got to push the button on the.
Thank you very much.
Rather than, I think most of you are here for the same issue, so rather than me interject at the end and tell you what the plan is, I'll let all of you speak and then we'll cover it from there. Is that good?
Okay, and
All right.
can I ask a question and ask for a service when I speak?
I don't want to get in the back and forth, but we'll answer your questions all at the end.
Okay, just as long as you answer. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm Susan Glazier, Chesterfield Township. And the first thing I'd like to say is if I have any time left over, can I pass it to the person behind me? I cannot, okay. I'm gonna quickly, the first thing I wanna say is that I would like for a housekeeping issue to be upgraded. When I read the minutes for the February meeting that I was looking at, why the senior center did not get funding this year under the CDBG funds. I'm sorry, am I too loud?
Just a little bit. There you go.
Okay. I overlooked that there was an amendment to the motion because the amendment was not bolded. I'm not used to that. I'm used to rushing through things quickly and finding, something that I'm concerned about. And in all my years, and believe me, I'm older than all of you sitting up there, I've never seen it where the motion that was amended was not bolded so the public could see what was going on. When you're old, you have a hard enough time reading all that stuff, let alone something that can be easily corrected, is my question to you, and I know you're not going to answer it yet. The second thing I'm really concerned about is the rumor I heard that they're going to put the seniors over in the school building, and then they're going to leave them there and make that the senior center and turn the senior center here that was built with federal funding, to my understanding, for seniors. And I know that when I first moved to this community, people were trying to take up collections to build a senior center. They finally got it. And I thought, I'm going to come and just ask everybody directly if that's true, because if it's true, I would find it disrespectful at the very least, and I will have more to say about it if it is true. So you can answer that question tonight too, whether you're going in that direction. And my final question is, as a citizen, do we have the ability to ask the attorney sitting on this board to give us a report of why it is illegal to do that with federal funding that was used to build a building? And that's the end of my statement. Thank you. Do I have to sign this? No.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeannie Coppin, and I live in Chesterfield Township. I am here also to start a conversation with the board about the senior center usage. Now, we realize that until renovations are complete here at the township, you will need to borrow the senior center space for a while, and we will be having to use the space at the community center, which is really not quite ready for senior use. The flooring in the room specifically we use for exercise is basically just a cement floor with a thin tile over it. And it is terribly hard on our senior knees, hips, and backs. The parking lot is in terrible shape, and the portion that we're allowed to use is very small, so we have a lot of close parking for the seniors. And the restrooms there, of course, were built for elementary school children, not for seniors with issues. Some of these ladies here tonight are asking the board to verbally assure us that once the renovations at the township are complete, that room will revert back to us for senior activities. As we have been told, this money that built that was grant money that was specifically designated for senior use only. So we are questioning the whole move and just want to know what's going on. Thank you.
Good evening, Janice Young. Obviously, the seniors are here for the senior center, so I'm going to start off with that. It's my understanding that the current senior center in this building was done with grant money. I don't know that for sure, so you can confirm that. If so, doesn't that mean that the seniors have to stay in this building? I'm asking because a senior resident put a post on Facebook expressing her concern over it. She said that Supervisor Kersten reached out to her and said that the rumors weren't true about the senior center being relocated to Sugar Bush Elementary. That it's only temporary move while the construction in this building is happening. So I want to remind everybody that Supervisor Kersten, Treasurer Elliott, Trustee Vosberg, and Trustee DeVlaminck all voted to purchase Sugar Bush Elementary School. What I'm wondering is when you said, Supervisor Kersten, at the November 29th, 23 Parks and Rec meeting that the focus of Sugar Bush Elementary is on Parks and Rec and senior services, what did you mean by senior services? You said it twice. I have the video here if anybody wants to see it after the meeting. You can say tonight that the Senior Center will in fact be staying permanently in this building while the services offered that are currently offered now will remain here, not some other program. They want the program that they're getting now once this building is done. The next thing I have is when will the crosswalk sign be installed on Jefferson, the $50,000 one that you guys approved? We had the unofficial kickoff to summer and there's still no crosswalk sign up there. Third thing, you guys put the sidewalk out here outside the township office a year ago. I had asked a year ago when there's going to be a crosswalk sign or markings on the pavement. Last year for the Historical Village event, there had to be an officer out there to stop traffic to allow people to cross the road. There's an event this weekend, a 2-day event. Is that going to happen again? Are we going to pay an officer overtime for Saturday and Sunday to be out there to stop the traffic? I think it's a safety issue, and I know that's the county. You guys are going to say that the county's responsible for stuff, but this township put that sidewalk in there without the proper markings. I also would like to get an update on the northeast sanitary sewer line. Still haven't heard anything from you on that. I would like to know what happened with the billboard lawsuit. Everybody's noticed that the footings have been put out there on Hall Road. We haven't really heard anything official on that, so I'm sure a lot of people would like to know what's going on with that. Finally, the water rate study. The Water Affordability Act legislation should not be holding up any water rate study. It's a $2 per meter flat charge. The bulk of the study should be done and ready for your review. And what happens if that legislation is held up for a couple of years? Are you going to hold the study up? So I ask this again, is this being held up because of the August 6th election and you're worried about your campaigns? I'm not advocating for a water rate increase by any means. I just want the residents to know and understand this is hanging out there and they will see this increase later this year. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Donna Harms. I've been in Chesterfield for about 17 years, and I do truly love it here. And I truly love coming to the senior center. It is a place of friendship, exercise, and real concerned about moving into another building. Again, as Jeannie mentioned, there's a lot of issues that we are uncomfortable with, but one that, working in the medical field for 30 years, my concern would be now if we ever have a medical emergency going on, we always have Michelle or Jessica like right around the corner that would be there in a blink. Coming to the new building, we have a huge long hall, no idea where the offices are going to be, where we'll be able to contact anybody in case we have a medical emergency. So there was a group of about 25 of us here from the senior center, which is a pretty big deal because considering it's raining and most of us are in our pajamas by this time at night. But we did vote last year to stay at the senior center here because it's where we all met. It's a place we really have a lot of memories with, and I would hope that you would respect that as seniors, and I guess that's what my concern is. Please have respect for our wishes as seniors. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public?
Am I too late?
I knew you were going to get up.
Hi, I'm Kathy Barbula. I just have a curiosity question. Before you decided to build or purchase the school, was any thought given to add on to this building a brand new facility rather than spending all that money to renovate a total renovation that's going to have to take place to use it? Or even, we've got all this acreage, build another building back here. Seems like it would have been cost effective and a better solution. So I'm really curious about that. In addition to, of course, I agree with the majority of the people. We all love our senior center here, and we don't want to go down there as the bottom line, you know, but you've got to do what you have to do. But well, anyways, that's my piece, and I'd like to hear your response.
John Spica, Chesterfield Township. John Spica says hands off on the seniors. So under my watch, the seniors would stay here, not Sugar Bush Elementary. That's a promise. The residents are paying attention, guys. Your gig's up. Supervisor Kersten, Treasurer Elliott, Trustee Vosberg, and Brian DeVlaminck. Good evening, Chesterfield Township residents. My name is John Spica, and I'm running for treasurer. We're 70 days away from August 6, 2024, the primary. I encourage every eligible voter to vote on August 6, 2024 in Chesterfield Township. The treasurer's race, the supervisor's race, and the clerk's race will be decided on August 6th in this township. I've heard a rumor, Kathy, so I want to run it past you. Is there any truth to you having a family member that you want to hire in the township? So I was just thinking about it with putting together what you're asking, so I just wanted to personally ask you. In my opinion, my opponent is a flawed opponent, unfit to serve, and she has wasted millions of taxpayer dollars, your money. We've had, since she's taken office, we've had bounce checks in the Treasurer's Department.
Mr. Supervisor,
We've had
our rules
incorrect
state there
Mr.
cannot
Speaker,
be
tax
personal
bills sent out to the
Mr.
residents.
Speaker, hold up a minute. Hold up. Stop with the personal attacks.
It's not
There's
a personal attack.
these are-
It's my First Amendment
Stop
right.
politicking from.
Yeah, I'm not
From the
politicking.
podium. Just stop.
I'm
Just
telling
say what
the
you gotta
truth.
say and move along. You don't have to be so mean.
I'm not
These
mean.
people don't need
I'm
to
not
hear
mean.
this.
It's the truth.
Please.
You might want to refer to Mr.
Continue and
Seberg,
stop
my
with the
First
pop-
Amendment right. You
Just stop.
violated it.
Just stop with the personal attacks, okay? Continue on.
There were incorrect tax bills sent out for the winter of 2023 tax bill. I've asked her several times how many incorrect tax bills have gone out. She's never given me an answer. In the real world, where accountability is everything, she would have been fired, the treasurer. Public officials can only get fired once every 4 years. Again, Trustee Joseph said that public officials have no time clocks that they have to clock. They don't have to report to work every day if they don't want to work every day. Treasurer Elliott was asking for a deputy treasurer. Okay, I have no problems with the deputy treasurer, but when she came into the department, she created an assistant treasurer that never existed. So why not take the assistant treasurer and make her the deputy treasurer? You pushed Ellen Clark out, who was our investment coordinator that knew everything, and you created a position without approval. So you were totally wrong in doing that. And the residents need to know the truth about you. And that there's no attacks. It's you shorted me 4 seconds. No, you can't do that. So, thank you.
Well, I'm Howard Harry, and I live in Chesterfield. On this deputy clerk positions should be civil service, because elections you can get, well, I had a friend run a dog for town council in St. Louis, and the dog won. So when I want to just make sure that there's the education requirements and the skills needed to run the departments, should be, the deputy should have that skill and not being appointed, because I remember what happened in Macomb County when they elected the young lady. So that's all I have to say.
Hi, I'm Charlene Munt. I've been living in Chesterfield a long time. Probably I've been paying taxes out here more than anybody here. I will have, actually my taxes built this building, and when we needed a new building back in the 60s, and we did not want this building. We didn't want this high rise. We were mostly farmers. We were mostly average to poor people. We didn't want this high-rise thing. We didn't want to pay for the heat and this big building. We just wanted a normal building out here. But they built it anyway against our wishes, and we actually, when the voting came, we voted the people out that wanted this building. So we were stuck with this building. So my taxes paid for this building, and now you're renovating it, so my taxes are paying to renovate the building. And I'm a senior, and I kind of like this building that we're in right now. I come to exercise 5 days a week, and I think it's kind of a shame that you're moving us over to the other place. I also feel that you don't really listen to what we have to say. I kind of feel that your minds are made up, and what you're going to decide is what you're going to decide. And I feel that right now you're saying in January we're going to all be back here, and I kind of don't believe you. I hope I'm wrong, but I think you're saying that so that once you're all back into office, when January comes, if we're not back here, well, what are we going to do about it? I mean, we're seniors, what are we going to do? We're either going to go back over there and exercise or not come to exercise. So I hope I'm wrong, and that's all I have to say. So I guess I'll just keep paying taxes here till I die, but, you know, like I say, I built this building, so I've been paying taxes since the end of the 60s. I don't think any of you here have been paying taxes as long as I have, so.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Schickman. I'm a Chesterfield resident as well. I'm not running or campaigning for anything. I'm here on a personal matter, an issue that's affecting my neighborhood, my subdivision, the people that live around me, my family as well. Some of you might remember me from the last November township meeting. How was your holiday weekend? Hopefully less exciting than mine, where we started our Memorial Day weekend by watching a grown man who's illegally renting urinate in the front lawn in front of our house for the second time this month. And while I'm not a lawyer, I spoke with one today, since this is one of many times I've appeared, I've made complaints, and a lawyer educated me on two things today. So I got to learn about negligence, and I'm gonna educate everyone else about this as well. Negligence in zoning and building can occur when a township or its officials fail to exercise reasonable care in their duties, leading to property damage or personal injury. This can include improper issuance of building permits, inadequate inspections, or the failure to enforce zoning ordinances. Liability is easier. Liability refers to the legal responsibility for the consequences of that negligence. The types of negligence, we've got administrative negligence, when zoning or building officials fail to follow proper procedures, when building permits are issued without adequate review, the harm they causes, things like that. Inspection negligence, if building inspectors fail to identify and record code violations, and these violations lead to property damage, personal injury, the township or the inspected entity can be liable. And finally, enforcement negligence, the failure to enforce zoning laws that can also lead to the liabilities. If the township is aware of zoning violations that pose a risk and fails to act and harm results, this could be the basis for a negligence claim. And the good thing for us is that government immunity is not absolute and does not cover the acts of gross negligence or intentional misconduct. We have on record citizen requests dating as far back as July 7th of 2023 of an illegal rental operation, a room for rent operation on our block. Citizen requests directed to code enforcement with responses that they will investigate and take proper actions. Code enforcement, having inspected the home and found several ordinance violations, including safety issues, egress issues, a homeowner that was supposedly formally notified and instructions were provided to address the violations or to face enforcement actions, and nothing has been done. I came here in November, I was asking for help, I came looking for advice. Today, I'm here for accountability. I demand that somebody be held accountable for this.
Christopher Pierrick, Chesterfield Township. A lot of things, a lot of people looking for their comments and questions to be addressed tonight, so I would encourage somebody from the board to make a motion before board comments to extend your time so that you can address all these things. Everybody comes up here, has questions, and they'd like resolution on those. I'm going to bring my question back up again that I've asked several times in a row here. Who wants Sugarbush Elementary? I asked this last time. It was addressed by a few of the board members. And I didn't really get a clear answer on who wants it. I know that some people have friends that did want it, but I was told that letters went out to every single household in the township looking for input on that. I'd like to know how many letters went out and how many responses were positive and negative on those letters. I also heard that somebody went door to door asking for input on that. I never received a letter. Nobody came to my door. Nobody I know ever received a letter or had somebody come to their door asking for input. It's clear tonight that the seniors were not in favor of this either. They did not want Sugarbush Elementary, so please tell me who wanted Sugarbush Elementary that made this majority board vote in favor of purchasing that building. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Rayner, Jack Grove Lane. First of all, I think it's terrific how many people spoke tonight. I wish we had that response twice a month, all the time. It's a little disappointing. We had a good crowd, but you know, we had a couple sections that were here for specific reasons. I would like to see more people interested in all of the issues that are addressed at every meeting. As you probably know, I've been involved in the transportation issues of filling jobs here in the city, here in the township, I'm sorry. Filling jobs to begin with and getting folks to the jobs. So I got a terrific call the other day from SMART that provides the bus service. They gave me some great information that I think will be of interest to everyone. Number one, recently, as of the 8th of January, we had bus service on 23 Mile Road going east to New Baltimore, which was a real great achievement. An even greater achievement was the announcement that we are now going to be going west all the way to Shaner. Now that helps part of Chesterfield Township, not a whole lot, except it does for a lot of people who have to walk down westbound 23. But besides that, a lot of other really good things. They are reconsidering the positioning of some of the bus stops. A lot of them are right next to each other. A lot of them do not make sense in terms of where the riders are headed for. They're also going to be, well, and because of that, another big get in this whole thing is we're going to have a lighted crosswalk on Gratiot so that people don't crosswalk and get hit by cars when they're doing foolish things. So that's going to be another big one. Another real big one that I've been pushing, and it was also in partial response to a memo that Karen Garby sent in November of 2023, mentioning that we only have one shelter. We will now have 3 shelters, which I think will be nice to maybe keep the rain and snow off a few more of our riders. All of this will be coming quite slowly because MDOT has to prepare a lot of the concrete before all that happens. So this isn't going to happen overnight, but it is going to happen. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm sure that the business owners here will be glad to be able to fill more of those empty jobs. Thank you.
James Locke. I know usually I get up here and I have nothing good to say about this board. But I do want to say tonight I want to commend you on your actions on the agenda item on the deputies. You guys made a good decision. As is proposed, there was too many questions that needed to be answered. And I'm glad to see you're going to work together to come up with something that will work, something that people understand. The seniors, I know you want to move the seniors down there. I know you, after we're done speaking, you intend on telling us what's going on. Did the seniors really have to move? Are you doing construction work on their area? If not, why can't they stay? If you're using it for other people's offices, you want other people in there while construction's going on, why don't you send them down to the school? If they have to go down to school, what have you done to the restrooms into school to accommodate the seniors? What have you done for floors? What have you done in advance besides just say, you're going down there? Have you done anything in advance for the seniors going there? If not, why not? You knew this was coming. You knew you wanted to do this. Now, it's your turn to give us the explanation.
My name's Joe Kadich. There are a number of things that we're going to talk tonight, but I think what's coming out, getting back to you guys, is things that's been talked to you about before, and you don't want to listen to anybody. And I think the proof of that is the fact that since you've been supervisor, the time limited to talk went from pretty much every agenda item. You could talk, question the agenda item, ask a question, and get an answer. It's gone from that to 3 minutes before the agenda is even talked about. So you're questioning or whatever you want to talk about on each agenda item. Tonight we had, what, 8 agenda items, 10 agenda items? And you had 3 minutes to address the whole thing? All it does is go to prove that you people don't want to hear us. You don't want us involved. Somebody's got to change that. You've dropped that on yourself. We've had people, Mike Wharton has talked to you about this, saying, you know, you want people behind you? Listen to them. You don't do that. And I hope to hell there's going to be some change this coming election. The other thing I wanted to talk about, probably running out of time now, was you had 3 new policemen here tonight that you inducted. I wish them well. But I've been talking for, what, 5 years now, over the police budget. You took our right to vote on how much we want to pay in millage for the police department, the fire department, 5 years ago. Because they were in trouble, they were overspending their budget, and you had to get them, so you combined them, you used $3 million from a general budget that was never repaid. You took probably $7 million out of the fire equipment budget to support the police department, never paid that back. But in the meantime, you've grown the police department from 40 to, I think now you're over 60, and there's never a justification as to why we had to increase it. Nobody denies we need a police department, but nobody has ever said we are increasing this. First it was retirement people. We got to replace in retirement. Nobody retired. Then it was because we got I-94 causing us a problem to service the whole community. Nothing ever happened there. Then we had from the treasurer and Trustee DeVlaminck saying, we have people walking around our neighborhood.
Time's up.
And DeVlaminck saying, you don't see the things that I've seen.
Mr. Kadich, time's up.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I got mentioned tonight. All right, Mike Morton, 503 Bauer. First and foremost, want to say I hope everyone had a good Memorial Day, and we all remember what the importance of that day entails. I know I got to spend it in New Baltimore with the parade yesterday, and I am always happy to see what the city of New Baltimore does with such an event. I wish the township would participate more either at that event or do more around here for that particular holiday. And I was happy to see a good turnout for the open house back on the, I believe it was the 11th, for the police department. Aside from that, in the meantime, since the last time I talked, I considered whether or not to utilize this year to run for office, and I decided not to, because I feel personally I am not capable of doing the job at the current moment in time. I need to build up my own skill set and become more experienced and to become capable of leading other people. I feel like I am not capable of doing that right now. That being said, I hold myself to high standards. I can't say the same for this board. I feel as though I need to lower my standards in how I recognize my political leaders at every level of government, be it federal level in DC or be it state level in Lansing, or be it here at local level. It feels as if it's nothing but petty attacks time and time again. It feels as if it is these tiny little arguments that go round robin into these semantic arguments that get overshined by the current moment in time where it's just people trying to have their edge out rather than listen to what their constituents really want. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people, well, that's a joke nowadays. We don't have that. You had a full house here tonight that it was vehemently disagreeing on many different things regarding what the board was trying to convey, and it doesn't feel like you're listening. That's ultimately the biggest thing. It's something I have to deal with my students. I feel like they aren't listening when I am just trying to help them. And here, again, I have the students here not listening to what the teachers are trying to tell them are the problems. You have the power, but that's also a reason why you have 2 of these and only 1 of these. And start learning to do that. It's never too late. Thank you.
You. Michelle Wilson Merriweather, how is everyone this evening? I just wanted to come up and say, as we all know, we're running for office this year, but I'm just asking everyone, let's run a clean campaign, let's be nice, let's all get along and think about what's best for the residents and what they truly desire. Personal attacks, let's keep them to a minimum. Let's all support each other and do the best we can to produce and move forward one of the most bountiful townships in the state of Michigan. I'm just hoping we can do that. And then I just want to say, you know, whatever is going on with the seniors, most importantly, don't mess with seniors. That's all I can say. Don't mess with them. They're going to come for you. Don't mess with them. Whatever it takes, make sure they got the pickleball and what they need. Thank you very much.
Any further comments from the public? Any further? We'll bring it back up to the board. Trustee DeVlaminck, you want to start tonight?
Sure, I'd like to congratulate the police department on a successful open house. They had a pretty good turnout. I know Trustee Joseph got rid of a lot of snow cones for a lot of people. Great job on that. And seniors, regarding being moved and not coming back, all the conversations that I've had, and also being part of Parks and Rec, as soon as the renovations are done, you're coming back. So I don't know who started the rumor that you're not, but I had a conversation. Hold on a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. It's my turn to talk. I had a conversation with the Director of Parks and Recs today regarding something else, and she told me a lot of you were here, but to my knowledge and everything that I've been told, you're coming back, but the renovations of this building need to be done. I think this, what's this building, 40, 50 years old now? It's been around a while. So, you know, my thing is, you know, you're coming back, at your senior center. You know, I got a senior parent. She doesn't come out anymore, but some of you I knew know. But it's up to me, and from what I know, you're coming back. What else is there? Sorry I wasn't here the last meeting. I think a few of my counterparts had told everybody I was at the Police Unity Tour honoring fallen officers in Washington, D.C. So I was on a trip with about 25,000 cops. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Vosberg?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's always good to be reminded of what our duties are, and I appreciate that. And I like the comment about perhaps changing and enhancing the way that our minutes are produced. The information's there, but it can always be beneficial to, you know, think of new ways and better ways to continue improving what we do. I'd like to thank the VFW Post 7573 for setting out flags in our township's 2 cemeteries. There's Hart Cemetery that's on Chesterfield Road, just north of 24 Mile, and Union Cemetery on Fairchild, that's north of 23 Mile. They look really nice with the flags out. Take a drive by and take a look, and I know someone in the audience tonight was one of the participants in that, and I appreciate that. And thank you to the police officers who were sworn in tonight. I appreciate their service and look forward to seeing them grow and learn and be able to improve the situations in our township. And I believe that, oh, one more. Mr. Rayner, thank you for your advocacy for the bus riders. Appreciate it.
Trustee Anderson?
I just want to say we're bound up here by the same 3-minute limit with our comments that you are in that change. Prior to that, Trustee Joseph used to provide tremendous cliff notes on what happened, and I answered a lot of the questions. And did a good job. No, he did it. He'd make a note. He'd address them all, and you got a lot of common sense what's going on. Mr. Pierak, I just have to make your comments. I'm not aware of any letters or anything that went out about Sugarbush Elementary. I have not been able to confirm it, whether there was mailings. I've heard that. I do appreciate you saying the board majority approved that purchase. People like to say, well, the board this, the board that. This is one of my credos. No, it's a board majority. And if you are interested in who purchased on this board, who favored it, go back to the March 12th minutes of the meeting. You'll see the 4-3 vote, who voted to purchase that outstanding building. I was one of the no's on it. You'll see that. There's a couple more here. More positive note, I'd like to commend all the residents of the English Oak subdivision that either spoke tonight or submitted letters in support of the Planning Commission's recommendation. Well stated, well spoken, a group of people at a lot of class. Finally, our 4 officers, I won't go through it. Congratulations on their being sworn in. I look forward to the day when they finish their time successfully with the department, have their retirement parties. They look pretty healthy. I hope to be there when that happens. And finally, Ms. Vosberg, I do thank you remembering our veterans in our cemeteries. I recall years ago going through the one and finding a couple graves of, I believe, soldiers that died during the siege of Vicksburg in 1863. They're buried in one of our cemeteries, Civil War veterans. So thank you there. Everybody stay dry if they permit us, or watch what grows in our yards. Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd ask that you, maybe the board indulge me. I do have a list of residents that got up to speak, and I'd like to answer their questions. I'll
just give you some leeway. I think
Thank
it's
you.
reasonable.
Thank you. If I could just start with Ms. Glazier. She got up to the podium and she talked about federal funds. The funds that you're talking about are CDBG grant funds. That is the Community Development Block Grant. It's a program through Housing and Urban Development. It's a federal program that the grant money is sort of administered to the states. The states then select counties, and then the counties who Chesterfield Township reports to. I only know this because Carol Rose, who was our senior coordinator for many, many years, would often challenge board members with utilization of the senior center that she thought was inappropriate given the grant obligations. There was a particular issue. There was a group of women who they had a fairly ingenious idea. They took plastic bags that end up in landfills, and they cut them into small strips. They joined them into a yarn. They called it plarn, plastic yarn, and they fashioned mats, very thick mats for the homeless. Ms. Rose was concerned that some of those plarners were not Chesterfield residents, and some who brought their grandchildren weren't seniors, and whether or not that was an appropriate utilization of that space. So I tell you this long story because I took an education tour over to the county to understand CDBG monies and what they could be used for. I had a conversation with the supervisor today. I'm a little concerned about the current use of the senior center, and I had the same conversation Trustee DeVlaminck had as well, which is it's temporary given the building renovation. But I would like to see if maybe, and Trustee DeVlaminck, I didn't appreciate before the meeting you threatening to get one of your seniors involved, and that's Mrs. DeVlaminck. You know she's rough on me. So, but I would like to work with you and maybe sit down with the supervisor to find out if there's a way to keep the seniors from having to be relocated to begin with. Could there be a scenario where we could utilize relocation of other offices to accommodate the seniors so that we don't have to move them and then back? I believe wholeheartedly there is no mechanism to remove the seniors from the senior center. It was built with grant funds. So whatever we're talking about, my understanding is it must be temporary because that money is yours through the grant, and without having to pay back the grant, which I don't believe the township is in a position to do, it would be a wise move. That was question one. I'll get quicker as we go on. But the comment that you made about the CDBG funds and the February board meeting, I want to explain to you what happened there. Every year, the CDBG funds are put out for any nonprofit that wants to come to the township to make the case for why they should be afforded whatever monies they're asking for. Every year that I've been involved, the charities don't get the full amount that they request, and some get none at all. Yet they come in every year, and I know through my personal work with the county that a number of these charities really do an exceptional job of getting almost 95 to 98% of every dollar that they receive back to those that are needy. So this year, when we deliberated CDBG monies, I proposed an amendment to our resolution, and the amendment was simply this. The $12,000, if I recall, it was roughly $12,000 of the CDBG money that was earmarked for the senior center. We cannot take tax dollars and give it to nonprofits, but we can adjust our budget to reflect the $12,000 that you would normally get from CDBG from the general fund. So my proposal that night was to afford the charities that came forward and asked for the amounts, to give them everything that they asked for. The ones that had come in year after year, we gave them $2,005 of the CDBG money, with the understanding that we would make a budget adjustment to make sure that the seniors are compensated for what was normally theirs. Okay? Now, I talked to the supervisor about this today because it got, you classified it as a rumor, and I will simply tell you, I don't think it was a rumor. I think it's dirty politics is what happens. And what happens is, my very first term on the board, I took issue with the paving project that was paid for out of CDBG monies. And I didn't approve the redo of the pavement because I thought the workmanship was shoddy. My political opponents then put out, and it appeared in the Voice, Trustee Joseph votes no on senior walk path. That's a really unfair characterization. I didn't think that the seniors had gotten the benefit of the walk path that they paid for out of the grant money, and I wasn't about to put more money into it. Similar thing happened with the $12,000. It was rumored that the seniors got shorted because the board shorted them $12,000. That's not true. In fact, we will make sure that the budget amendment happens at our July budget discussion. I confirmed that with the supervisor today, and I'm sure he will tell you the same thing. The seniors will not be gypped one nickel of your CDBG money. I'm already way long. I will stay after and talk with you, but they're going to cut me off because I only get 3 minutes too. I'm on borrowed time. Miss Hoppen talked about being kicked out, and we don't want that. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you kicked out. I would like to find a way because the community center is not equipped to deal with seniors yet. I don't think anybody who voted for the community center thought it would be instantly ready for senior programming. The flooring, the toilets, having had put in an assisted elevated toilet in my grandmother's home, I know the challenges that you're talking about. It's not an easy endeavor. And so to just send you over to another building is ill-conceived. We can do better, and I think the supervisor's door is open to me, and I'd like to talk to him about some ideas that I have. Ms. Young, the CDBG money, I hope I answered the question. That is a grant federally funded. The billboard was discussed in closed session to eliminate the potential for the township being sued. I can email to you. I'll have to go back and research it because I don't recall the exact board meeting. But we did hear from our attorney that indicated to us that our legal position could have been much more complicated and potential damages and so forth. And then the board came out of closed session after hearing from our attorney and made the decision to settle that suit at the circuit court level. I don't know what's going on with the water rates. I do know that the legislation that you talked about does involve a $2 fee, and I'm hopeful to see the water rate study quickly. A few other residents who talked about moving. Moving from the senior center. I hope I've covered that. The other individual that I wanted to address was Mr. Shipman, who lives over on Blue Heron. He contacted me about this time last year with a neighbor, I say neighbor, but not very neighborly neighbor, who is in all aspects violating our single-family sort of zoning, and they had, in essence, rented their house to boarders. It's a boarding house, and the application process does not appear to be very stringent in terms of who is allowed in the boarding house. I've communicated with Mr. Shipman a number of times, and I've forwarded verbatim your concerns to our building department, as I did last week when you made me aware again. And Mr. Supervisor, this is another area that we've got to talk about. When I brought it to your attention, I believe that may have been the first time you had heard it, about it. And clerk, I got latitude with the pager already. I'm almost done. So the behavior that you were forced to endure over Memorial Weekend was just really abhorrent, and it's sad. I did confirm you have just like real rough people over there, and I'm sorry that you had to go to secure an attorney and look for direction there. We can do better. I'd like to see our code enforcement maybe peel off from all of the things that we've talked about with the flags enforcing and really get to places where the neighborhood is being compromised and hurt. We could do better there, and I will continue to talk with the supervisor about that. Last, I would just say, yeah, we did have a great police open house. It was phenomenal weather. We went through a lot of snow cones. My buddy Dylan Riker wasn't able to be there, but he said he'll be at the Cheers to Chesterfield, and he's looking forward to it. And lastly, I'd just point out, May is Motorcycle Awareness Month, and we've had a number of tragedies in the township involving motorcycles. Some of them have no fault of another driver. The one that I'm most involved with is a gentleman who wrecked his motorcycle and is forever grateful to the township first responders, both MedStar, our fire and police departments, who he credits with saving his life. He told me that he now celebrates 2 birthdays, and I attribute that directly to our outstanding first responders. The other accidents, unfortunately, I think we had some at-fault drivers and some careless driving, and I would ask, please be careful when you're out there. Keep an eye on motorcycle riders. It's very difficult to see, and sometimes tragedy happens, and please just be aware when we're on the road. Thank you, and thanks to all our seniors who came out tonight.
Treasurer Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First of all, I wanted to address my feelings about campaigning at the podium. I've historically been opposed to it. I don't believe in it. I think it's an inappropriate use of township resources. So I'm also very disappointed to hear that people are starting rumors, especially ones about my family. But I want to thank Ms. Merriweather for coming out and reminding everyone to try to stay positive while you're on the campaign trail. So I'm going to just address it that way. More importantly, one of the things that was amazing to me tonight was the outpouring and community of English Oak subdivision. That was encouraging, and it was nice to see everybody coming out and sticking together as a community. And in that, I think that's a great example, and I hope to see more of that. And speaking of communities, right, the seniors are a great community, and I appreciate each and every one of you coming out and expressing your feelings today. The CDBG funds research, we as a board, I do believe, need to do a little more research on that and take it up to, find out exactly what we can and can't do and what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. The clerk and I did walk through there as she was kind of telling me some of the issues that she's dealing with and trying to work with. We did take a walk through there last week, and she was kind of showing me things that may or may not work. And one of the things that it looked to me is that there needs to be a lot of updates on that in that area as well. It looks like we need to at least do some painting and cleaning up. And so maybe when we look at the CDBG funds this year and we look at the budget this year, that we should look at maybe doing some more work over in that building regardless. I know that it was the chairs and handicap parking were mentioned while we were over there, and I took those issues straight to the supervisor's office. The clerk and supervisor have been in great discussion, lengthy discussions for the last month on the logistics and alternatives, and I'll let them address those. I'm glad to hear that the board will be working together on the deputy compensation issue, and I appreciate each of you coming tonight. Thank you.
Clerk Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would encourage everyone who knows anyone who is interested in working with elections to please contact our office. We are now hiring, need to hire about a dozen individuals to work for us as a temporary election worker. It is a flexible schedule. It's very good pay. There is no benefits or anything like that, and it is temporary until we get through the November election. But please contact us if you know anyone. We do have a position that is open on our website. Anyone interested just needs to go to the website, go under our Department for Human Resources and Job Opportunities, and take a look at that posting and go ahead and apply for it. Particularly interested in anyone with former election experience. Basically, if you have election experience and you have a pulse, we're gonna be looking to hire you. Because we are in desperate need of bodies and hands and minds to facilitate just the absentee ballot processing alone is an enormous, enormous task, much more than it has been in past years. So please, I encourage anyone who knows someone who might be looking for some temporary income to please apply for that position. I usually try to keep things pretty positive. It's tough tonight. It's tough. I've been doing this a long time, and I heard a couple things I found were interesting. So one of the things someone said, and I've always stayed to this, you might not like what I have to say, but I guarantee you that it's true. Someone said that it sounds like you guys already have your minds made up before you get there. That's true, almost 99% of the time. We've already had discussions. We already know where the votes are going to be. I knew where the deputy position issue was going to land. I already knew it. But it was important for us to have the discussion. That's what I wanted to facilitate, was the discussion. Okay, that was very important. And I'm glad that we were able to have that. Pretty much you know where all the votes are before you come to the table. So that's true. Also, it's an election year. 9 times out of 10, there's more politics being played up here than policy. That's true. Sometimes that's unfortunate, but I will tell you, for those of you who are here tonight, you have more ability to influence the people sitting up here and everybody else sitting in office, whether they're in Congress or the legislature or anything. You have more ability to get what you want this year than any other year. Take advantage of it. Your presence alone can get you what you want, whereas in another year you may not be able to. Things are very different. It's a very different world after people know that they've secured re-election or election. So take advantage of that. I think it's a great advantage for the public. It's kind of like a honeymoon period. You've got a great opportunity to really get what you want, and I encourage you to do that, because sometimes elected officials don't always listen to you, but they'll listen this year. So I encourage you to do that. If you ever have any questions, concerns, or issues about the clerk's office, elections, or anything that we do, I will meet with you anytime, anywhere. I will take a phone call at 9 o'clock at night, right, John? I'm always available pretty much 24/7 unless I'm sleeping, and I'd be happy to accommodate you on your schedules. So anyone who ever wants to meet with me or has any other questions, I promise you, you'll get the truth, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. So hopefully good, as we want to concentrate on the good. Thank you very much. I appreciate seeing everybody tonight.
So I'm going to try and answer everybody's questions real quick. Yes, the seniors are moving over to Sugarbush Elementary School for a period of time. As I told the group that I've addressed individually, I can't tell you when you're coming back. We are under a $6 million renovation here, and we are trying to accommodate everything that takes place here, along with keeping government running, allowing the clerk to run elections, and making sure that this place is practical and usable. First thing I ever heard when I came in as supervisor is the air conditioning, the heating, the building leaks, particularly down in the senior wing. We addressed it. The problem was that wing's tied to this wing, and everything's interacted. So you can't fix what's down there until you get to the core of the problem, which is in this renovation here. And I took that project on. The project has never been, or the goal has never been, to minimize senior use. It's been the opposite. In the last 3 years, done anything but expand, work to expand. Added staffing to seniors, Parks and Rec. Added the building, the Sugarbush Elementary building, to expand programming. Expanded facilities here, programming for the seniors. CDBG is not your budget that you need to worry about. As Trustee Joseph indicated, that's just grants that come in. Your funding comes from the general fund, and we've not withdrawn any of it. And in fact, it's increased over the year, sometimes as much as 10%. Staffing, programming, just a few numbers over the last 3 years. We've nearly raised a third of all of our programming and trips for seniors specifically, and we will continue to do that. The unfortunate position I am in as the supervisor, because I manage the buildings, is trying to manage a daily operation of this township, along with supplying the clerk a facility and a location to run a fair and legal election. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that election is run, and right now it's occupying, or planned to occupy, the senior wing, so we've displaced you. And again, to further up, as the treasurer had said, and everybody that I spoke to at the senior wing, the place needs to be cleaned up. It needs new paint. We've done the garden, we've put a doorway in. The sunroom is unacceptable to me, and I was told by a few seniors that use it, it's unacceptable to them. Those things need to be improved, and we will work on that. The mention of politics interjected into this, yes, I would have handled it completely different as how some of the seniors heard about it. I wished I could have done that differently, and I tried. Unfortunately, the message was the wrong message that went out. So I'm left holding the bag, and I'm here in front of you to deal with it. And my office and phone number is available to anybody that wants to come in and sit down and talk about it. More than available to do that. Again, our goal is not, and I challenged the seniors at the card event the other day, I challenged the seniors, bring 3 of your neighbors in next time. Spread the word. Let's get this place bigger and better. Don't worry about the funding. This board will commit to the funding of the senior projects or senior programming, whatever they need. Going back to, are you going to be inconvenienced for the next few months? Yes, you are. And that's solely on me. You don't have to blame anybody here. I'm the one with facilities who is trying to renovate this building and modernize it to modern day standards. This building has been neglected for many years, and unfortunately your building the senior wing has been neglected for many years. So we're trying to fix it. That's my pledge. That's the direction I'm going in. I am very sorry that everyone is inconvenienced. I'm very sorry that you are going to have to utilize different spacing. You will be coming back. That was never a question. We do have to run an election, and as the clerk said, it's a 10-day election. We have to pull staff from everywhere. This building makes sense. This is just like renovating your home. This is never a good time to remove your one bathroom. And that's what we're dealing with at a grander scale. So that should clear up any of the questions. One of the questions that was asked is, why didn't we add on here? We looked at it. We got 18 acres in a school building for a little over $3 million. The cost to renovate here would have been in excess of $10 million. And historically, look back how this township has run. Our police station is in a commercial building in an industrial setting. Why? Because we've tried to manage the cost. Our DPW building is in an industrial complex because we manage the cost. That's the way the philosophy of this township has been for several years. We have to change that mindset, and my mindset change is telling you folks, the seniors, we're committed to you. I'm committed to you. We just got to build it. We got to build it better than it was, and we got to make it bigger and better. So that's my take. I'll end with this. Your blue heron complaint, sir, we're aware of it. There's just, I don't know, did he leave, sir? We're aware of it. We know what's going on, but unfortunately, there's certain laws that we got to follow, and there's certain provisions that need to be addressed before we just go in accusing someone of running a nightclub or housing people there. So we'll continue to monitor it. I don't have any answers for you right now, but the right departments are aware of it. With that being said, I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion by trustee DeVlaminck, supported by trustee Osberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 10:09.